to 9/11 Center. Does any other board members have anything? Is that it? Okay. We're going to go to public comment. There's a lot of people here tonight. There's two different issues. One is Lent Farm and Woodland Pond, and one is Brook Farms and OSI. Because the Lent Farm and Woodland Pond is children and seniors, I am going to have public comment about that first. So this way, if people have to leave with the kids, they can do that. If the seniors want to leave or they want to stay, whatever, then we're going to do the Brook Farm second. So if I call your name and you're from Brook Farm, I'd like to ask you to say that you'll just, decline and wait until we get done, at least with Lent Drive and Woodland Pond. I'm also going to ask for everybody to remember that this is one community, and we all live in this community together, and we're all neighbors. So those of you who live on Lent Drive or Waring Lane and Old Mill are neighbors with the people who live in Woodland Pond. And the people who are working on trying to save Brook Farm also are our neighbors, and you bike and ride with the people who support Mohawk Preserve and Open Space Institute. And so what I'm going to ask is we're all entitled to our opinions, but I would really like for everybody to try to be respectful, because this is one community, and we all have to see each other in the supermarkets, and I would just really like for us to understand we're all trying to solve the problems, and let's do it together. And I just would really like that courtesy, so I really hope you can all acknowledge that we're neighbors in this together. So with that, we'll start with, and we need you to go up here, so this way the camera can get you, and the clerk can get you. So, the first person we have is Vicki Dansky. Actually, you know what, Vicki? Here. Do the seniors want to wait for the people with the kids to go first? Or, no. No? Okay, go ahead, Vicki.
They brought him here tough. Old men, they do it a bit early. That's the attitude that you didn't want to engender. No, that's the attitude against people who want old people to die.
Listen, you know what? I just asked for everybody to please be respectful, and we haven't even spoken yet, and there's a fight going on. Okay? And I will ask people to leave, because you know what? Kitty's about to tell you that this is a town board meeting. We actually have to do the budget. We have a deadline for when the budget has to go to the state. Because our board members are all so busy on so many different committees, tonight we have to discuss the budget, and we only have 2 meetings to discuss it, so we have to get it up to the state. And so we can't be here till 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning. I actually have surgery tomorrow. When Jean gets here, she's got to go to work. So we do have to keep this moving. So I'd like to ask everybody to please be a little bit respectful in terms of the time that they take to speak. And why don't we do that? We'll talk about the fun after. Okay, so do you want to? We're going to try to hope that everybody can stay down to 2 minutes and not repeat, what everybody else says over and over again and bring up new points. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good evening, neighbors. Good to see you all here. I'm here to speak and hopefully put a new perspective on some of the issues regarding the contentiousness that has developed. In the spring of 2001, Dave Lent came to the town board with a draft proposal for Lent Farm. I was on the town planning board at the time. I remember it well. First things we said to him were, Dave, you need to do a better job with your stormwater management, and you need to allow connectivity to future developments in the area. We put Dave through his paces. He got his final approval 4 years later. And many things about that development changed for the better in that process. One of them was the fact that your streets are engineered from the beginning to be wide and to be traffic calming. That's why you have the curves. The sites that you own there range from 1.4 acres to 3.2 acres. And I have to tell you that for a couple of 100 years here in New Paltz, generations and generations of children have been raised successfully on quarter-acre lots, on busy 2-lane roads that are straight and have no shoulders. Today I asked for a count of the parking permits issued to independent living residents at Woodland Pond, in case you thought there were 300 or 400 of us speed demons there. It turns out that there are only 121 parking permits. I can say for myself, I used to live on Huguenot Street in the Village. Since I moved to Woodland Pond, my less than 10,000 miles a year average mileage has probably gone down to 3,000 or 4,000 miles a year. Mainly I go on putt corners to the big intersection because I'm visiting the big strip malls there. If I were to have the opportunity to use George Danskin Way, which was named in honor of my husband, my late husband, I would probably use that when I go to the Village on business. There's a total work staff at Woodland Pond of 220 people, many of them part-time, and many of them not coming at the same time because many of them are shift workers, and many of them aren't headed for the independent living section, which is closest to Lent Farm. They're headed to work in our health center.
Vicki, just to stop for a second.
Enter our health
2 minutes. 2 minutes.
health center.
2 minutes.
Enter our health center, it would be important for people to use Putt Corners Road because that's the most direct entrance to the health center.
Thank you.
Most of us like to use Shivertown going north to Kingston. We're going to Highland or Poughkeepsie, we would use the big intersection at the end of North Putt. Alan Stout recently wrote something that's very important for you folks to keep in mind, and I really have to compliment you on being careful about the health and safety of the residents. But it's important to keep things in proportion as well, and you've set some humdingers. Oh, excuse me, but I was spoken over from the beginning. During the transportation and land use study.
Can I just interrupt for a second? I'm not timing. I ask people to be respectful and try to keep it to 2 minutes, but I'm not timing. So if you want to talk for 4 minutes or 5 minutes, go ahead too. I'm just asking people to be respectful.
Don't say that.
I'm not timing. I asked.
During the transportation and land use study, we learned the importance of neighborhood connectivity. Dead ends and cul-de-sacs are bad ideas. They have been banned in many forward-looking communities. Transportation experts agree that the neighborhoods do not connect. The community as a whole suffers due to increased traffic on existing roads. The approved site plan for the Lent Farm development was affirmed by Dave Blanton, indicated connecting road would be built. The author, Alan Stout, said, I also understand that the Ulster County Planning Board requires at least 2 full-time, permanent, not emergency access roads for developments, residential developments the size of Woodland Pond. Thank you.
Thank you, Vicki. Marion Winfield?
Go.
Hi, and thank you all, Lent Farms people and children. It's always good to see you here. Thank you. I would just like to say to all the Woodland Pond residents that are here, it's not, when you say 125 drivers, for the convenience of the few people that you're saying to go to town, you're willing to open floodgates. And the people that you're talking about, the employees, their shifts, that's 24/7, the commercial traffic, that comes through the neighborhood. And I see every day Woodland Pond residents walking in our area, 2 and 3 and 4 abreast. When people come speeding, and they do, we live there when they speed, when they come speeding around, you're also at risk. If we could work something out that the residents could have some kind of gate that would just be you. we would work with that. But you are opening the floodgates to all those children's safety, to commercial taxis, buses, and employees. For the convenience of going to town, now you have 3 stop signs, and it certainly isn't greener. Please think before you take it down. I'm beseeching everybody. I don't have little children, I don't have pets, we live off the road, but it breaks my heart to think that any one of those children, we would all be here, oh my goodness, a child was hit. There was a great saying, and then I'll be finished. When a car hits a car, it's an accident. When a car hits a child, it's a tragedy.
Hi, everyone, neighbors. I see many of you, some of you I know, some of the walkers I know. I will. Thank you. So I speak as somebody who lives on Old Mill, but also I am a transportation planner for 25 years. I work on traffic calming with many communities in the northeastern United States. I teach on these issues. I'll be speaking at Rutgers Monday at a conference on Complete Streets. So I wanted to try to give a little bit of maybe a blended perspective on things. Connectivity is a planning goal. Connectivity is often desirable, but you can't consider in a vacuum. And neighborhood context matters a lot to connectivity. And when I talk about connectivity, I always favor pedestrian connections, bicycle connections, transit, if there's a way to control transit connections, are very important. But you have to consider land uses and densities for full compatibility and full connectivity. And it really is very frustrating for me as a professional in the field to see a very good concept applied without the details really being thought about and really being understood. And I think it's sort of hurting the entire neighborhood. The employee traffic is significant. Prior to the gate, I walk my dogs up and down Old Mill. I have the big greyhounds that people know. I've been nearly hit multiple times myself. With my dogs on Old Mill, the undeveloped section of Old Mill where the trees are, and it's lovely. People tend to go very, very fast there. There's nothing to stop it. As far as I can see, there aren't any plans in terms of traffic calming to mitigate those impacts. And what I find very frustrating also is that when the analysis was done for Woodland Pond during the seeker process, this connectivity was posed as a mitigation solution. But nobody analyzed the effects of that, and nobody did it during the seeker process so that the developers, Impulse Views and Woodland Pond, could contribute financially to a viable solution for traffic calming. So our concerns are speeding and the employee traffic and the 6-ton mulch trucks that have gone down Old Mill, which has a water line very shallow in the road, which was never built for large traffic like that. So connectivity is wonderful, but we need to think about the details, and we need to come up with a viable way of dealing with it. Because right now, when that gate is open, those measures are not in place. And my concern is for the safety collectively of the community when I say that. So I guess I really want to urge everybody to work towards a comprehensive approach to traffic calming in the short term. And then I would like to think that there is a longer-term solution that might make more sense in terms of secondary access. There are areas right around Woodland Pond that may be developed in the future. And in fact, I saw somebody doing utility mark out there, so I'm curious about what's happening. Your timing now. Okay, thanks. I appreciate it. So there's potential for more development there and more commercial traffic to use a back door into the village. And I think we need to think both about what is the best short-term solution and come up with something that really addresses the problems, and then what is the long-term way of better dealing with this. Because connectivity is a great idea, but if you don't work with it every day like I do, you can apply it in an overly simplistic way, and I think that we're suffering from that. So I hope we can work together and arrive at a place that is more viable than what's before us. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Dan Newfield. I live on Lent with some other folks in the Lent Farms neighborhood. I know you're heading toward dedication. Handwriting is certainly on the wall. As I remember, Jean was the one who definitely said that she wanted to get down once the dedication came to pass. The others, I'm not exactly sure. I know when Jeff met with us, several of us at my house, I don't know, maybe a month ago, we talked very strongly and we appreciated his strength in comments. He talked about the. I am using it. Okay. When Jeff Logan came to our house to meet with several of us, there were about 5 residents there, he talked about emphatically about the need for the gate to stay up even after dedication, and it's something that we certainly supported and wanted to see happen. If the village or Woodland Pond had difficulty with that, then the suggestion would be that they should lawyer up and do what needed to be done. The gate is on town property. From my point of view, you have the ability to keep it up. If you're going toward dedication, I would just hope that all the mitigation work, traffic calming mitigation is done before that. The speed bumps are in, the additional stop signs are in, the striping is down middle of Lent and middle of Boring to slow down traffic. The second bike lane is put in. I would hope those will all be done before you even think about dedicating. And that's it.
I just don't want to get into a back and forth. I just want to make one comment, and Mr. Blixen still here. We had actually spoken when we were out there with you that morning in the rain, with myself and Chris, when we talked about the strike down the middle of the road, and we were told by Susan that we shouldn't be doing a strike down the middle of the road because, and so Susan can answer that, but right now the plan is not to do it based on the recommendation of your traffic expert in your neighborhood.
She's recommended other things too that you're not listening to. You're picking and choosing what you want to listen to.
Can I clarify? Would that be okay?
Yeah, so while we're waiting for you to clarify, Kitty also wants me to point out that what is on the agenda tonight, which is not designated the road, but what is on the agenda tonight is for us to set a public hearing date on weight limits and truck traffic on Lent Waring, because we are trying to get everything done before we should dedicate, and we've already gotten permission from the owner, because this is not our road. We don't own the roads, we're not supposed to be on the roads, we shouldn't be doing anything. But in order to get everything done before we even dedicate, we asked through the lawyer, costing us money, to give us permission to go onto a road that we don't own, to paint, to stripe, to put on stop signs. And so we're trying to do everything we can prior to dedicating. And we're doing these public hearings tonight so we can adopt these laws before we dedicate. That's what we're trying to do.
Make it clear, we're setting a date for public hearing. This
I
is
hope,
not a public
I hope
hearing.
Old Mill is included, because it often gets left out, and then we get more than half the traffic, and we need the same consideration.
That's already a
Okay,
town
good.
road, right?
It is.
There are a lot of town roads. We're hearing from, people on Butterville, Plains Road, a lot of people would like the same kind of work that we're putting into your.
I understand, but we have the side effects of unintended consequences of recent decisions, so I don't want to get an argument about it. I just want to say about the yellow stripe, because that came up. So in rural areas, and for those, most of you are drivers, with some exceptions, you'll notice that where we tend to have the center line yellow striping is on the higher speed roads. It tends to be our county roads and our state roads. We tend not to have it on local streets in rural areas. It can actually have a counterproductive effect in terms of giving that perception that people are on a higher travel road in rural areas. So I would say, it can be added later if it's determined that there's some benefit to it, but I'm not convinced that it will be, but I'll leave that to everybody's consideration.
So just for the record straight, because we were intending to do it, we were told, through your person there that day, that we shouldn't, and so we're adding that extra white line to do, to have the 2 white lines
The visual narrowing, having a shoulder stripe, there is a greater benefit to that than having just a center stripe. So,
You hear me?
Hi, everybody. I'm a resident of Lent Drive. My house is right next to the gate. I have 2 young kids. I would like to thank the town for everything they've done so far. All of the neighborhood kids that you see here tonight are very safely playing outside and enjoying the neighborhood, the weather. I understand that they will have to come down, and I too would like to ask that the traffic calming measures be put in place before it comes down. And also, while the residents are here, we never have any opportunity to interact with each other. There's, this sort of hostility that's going on. You guys want your road, we want our gate. Just a thought that could be a win-win is to have a gate that gives residential access. I have a family that lives in communities like that, senior communities, and they just show a little pass, the arm goes up, they go right through. And that would give you guys your access, your secondary access, but it would keep the commercial volume, the delivery trucks, the speeding taxis, because before that gate was up, they were flying. Not so much the residents. I felt that the residents were very respectful of the neighborhood. It was the employees and the trucks and the taxis that really just were not. And this could be this could be something that could be done that we would both win. Something to consider, the residents, once that gate goes up, even though Woodland Pond is a private road, there will be through traffic cutting through your neighborhood to get up to North Putt, and this gate could stop that, and only residents could get through it. We couldn't get through it, the commercial traffic couldn't get through it, but you could. Just an idea. Thank you.
Young son?
Hello, I live on Waring Lane, and I think everything has pretty much been said. I think we have to live together as neighbors. All we're asking is that trucks, taxis, these vehicles be prohibited, so that the residents can have a quiet neighborhood. You can have it through traffic, but we stop the heavy traffic.
Dorothy Jessup?
Hello, everybody. I want to remind the board that we were here sometime last year to remind you that this was never intended as a secondary access road. It was intended as a second entrance exit to Woodland Pond because at the time Woodland Pond was planned, the county did not want to have dead-end streets, and particularly because we're a large community. It was important to get some of the traffic off North Putt. So I'd just like to remind all of you who live on Lent Drive, imagine how it would be if you lived on North Putt. Now, you don't live on North Putt, but it is supposed to be a regular town road. I don't think that the town board actually has the authority to change what that road is supposed to be, but I do believe there might be some mitigating things that can be done. I'd like to mention that I personally love that road. I haven't been able to drive for a year because I was in a bad accident last year. But before that, I averaged 5,000 miles a year on my car for probably the last 4 or 5 years because I don't go to work anymore. I don't use it every day. And I think that is pretty much the pattern of most residents. Now, I understand you're not worried so much about us as you are about the employees.
I think it's possible to have no trucks, no commercial traffic. Is that possible?
We can limit the weight.
To have no commercial traffic, no trucks?
We're doing a, no through, a truck traffic weight limit.
Yeah, so I believe the board is considering
We're doing,
some
yeah, we're doing a
measure
public hearing, yes.
to ameliorate that. The difficult issue is the employees, and unfortunately, we if they could ask the employees not to drive there. And they say that legally they can't dictate to their employees where they should drive and not drive if it's an open road. I think we could appeal to this. I think there are two things we can do. First of all, a very slow speed limit, to my mind, would be fine. One of the reasons I like that road is I like to see the deer and the geese and the children. I'm somewhat appalled at the idea that any of us would hit a child. I think that it's pretty, it's pretty unusual in a town like New Paltz that you would have a street where children could play in the road. So I don't think it's realistic that you should allow your kids to play in the road, but it's certainly realistic that you should ask people to drive slowly and carefully through your residential area. And I think most of us at Woodland Pond would be willing to somehow get the message to the employees to please also respect that. Would it be possible to have signs, drive slowly, children, something to that effect, deer crossing? Nobody wants to coincide with a deer. It hurts the car. So that would maybe be a slowing down thing. So maybe a few things like that could be done. Just wanted to make one last point about somebody suggested we have a short-term solution and a long-term. We've been waiting 4 years for this road. Woodland Pond opened in September 2009. That road would have been completed had it not been for an injunction brought by one of the only resident on the road at the time. And he was told at a planning board meeting that I attended that he had no basis in law for filing that injunction. I think since then he's cooperated with Woodland Pond to get the road somewhat resituated and finally paved. But I just think you need to realize that if it had not been for that injunction, the road would have been completed in 2009 when George Denskin Way was paved. The paving trucks were there, everything was there, and there was that little stretch that couldn't be done because somebody wanted to hold it up. Please don't hold it up any longer. We really need that road.
Okay. Is there anybody else from Woodland Pond or from Lent Drive? As I look through this list, I think I've gotten all the people that I think are here for that.
I'd like to say one thing really quickly on Old Mill.
Well, can you come over here and then,
Yeah.
and then if you're here on this issue, sure. Can you just give me your name so I can...
Hillary Wilson, 2 Alpha Hillary. Hi, I'm Hillary Wilson. I live on Old Mill Road, a road that I'm not hearing a lot about tonight, to be honest with you. I'm hearing references to large lots that are an acre plus. That's not what I live on. I don't live on a wide street with lots of curves in it. I live on a straight street with a blind curve at the end. I have 3 kids, all under the age of 10, and 2 dogs. And I'm teaching my son how to ride a bike. And there are cars, before that gate went up, cars speeding past. I'm sure it's none of you that live at Woodland Pond. I absolutely trust that. I absolutely know that it's people taking the shortest possible route, which, by the way, as you probably surveyed, is Old Mill to the village. The shortest route is not Lent Drive or Waring, it's Old Mill. And that is the road that is getting the most traffic when this gate opens up. And to Susan's point, she's my neighbor, that road was not planned as part of this development at all. That infrastructure of that road is not with deep water pipes, is not part of the Lent Farm development at all. But it will get the most traffic. So thanks for giving me a moment.
Okay, go ahead. And then Ira.
I'm Trina Green. I'm a resident of Woodland Pond, and I just wanted to corroborate that I think speed bumps, maybe several speed bumps, maybe speed bumps on Mill, whatever the road was she just mentioned. Old Mill Road. And I also think traffic signs should be 25 miles an hour. 25 miles an hour. And I've seen the kids riding their bikes. I grew up in a community where we rode our bikes on the street, and that is wonderful. But I'm sure we could work it out, that the children be taught to ride on the edge, and we would drive at 25 miles an hour. And I do like the idea of two communities cooperating with friendship. I just think that that is an energy that carries itself. Thank you.
Okay. I'd like Ira, and then if there's nobody else on this subject. Okay, well, let Ira first, then I'm going to ask our highway superintendent.
He doesn't live in Woodland Pond.
He's allowed to speak. He doesn't have to, it's on the subject.
Just one in Woodland Pond.
No, just anybody who's here for that subject.
Why don't you try keeping quiet for a while?
Wait.
I'm sorry, Susan, he interrupted everybody. All right, my point is I'm not taking either side, Woodland Pine or these people who want that private road. What I'm looking at is a taxpayer. I don't want to have to pay for somebody's private road. You want a private road, you pay for it yourself. I shouldn't have to be burdened with additional taxes because you don't like cars coming down your street. You want your kids in the street, but you don't tell them not to go in the street. You care about your kids. What about the kids on every other road that isn't a private street? Who's going to take care of them? You bring the kids here for show, but you complain about how we don't like kids. No, it's more that these people don't like old people, in my opinion. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, everybody.
Hi, my name is Rebecca, and I'd like to say that I actually love old people, especially the ones that walk by my house on the one bike lane that we have. This isn't just about our children. I'm not an elitist that wants a private road. I want safety. 25 miles is way too fast, especially for Old Mill. My mother, when she was 5 years old, was actually struck by a car going 20 miles an hour, and she had to have her jaw wired shut for 4 months. Okay? Not intentional. No one plans on hitting a child, but it can happen. There are no sidewalks. There are no street lights. There's no watch for children. I have all those children that are over there come to my house on their bikes every day. So this isn't about private roads. This is about safety. And that's why I'm here. I'm here on behalf of my son, Joshua, and his friends, and their parents, and everyone in the community, including Woodland Pond. Now, if there's a gate that's there, or if you want access there, I believe that the employee should also have a tag to scan to get into the facility. I'm a nurse, and that's what we do at a local hospital. It controls the traffic. It makes everyone aware of their surroundings. And I also believe that you should also have tags to get into your community as well, because it ensures safety for everyone. And that's why we're here, to come up with a fair solution that works for everyone. Woodland Pond residents on Warren Lane and Len and Old Mill. And that's why I'm here. So, thank you.
Thank you. What I would like to do, Chris, not to put you on the spot, but I'm putting you on the spot, I just very quickly for Chris to just give an update on all the safety measures that we've been doing in the past few weeks. Would you mind, Chris, just coming and giving an update?
Actually,
Is that okay?
I'm
You don't want
sorry.
it?
It's
Okay.
the first item on our agenda.
Okay.
My prayer is that we will actually get to the business on our agenda.
Okay, so yeah.
In
Okay.
maybe half an hour. So I would ask the rest of the people who are here to speak to just, however long you talk is up to you, but I would like the business of the town board to begin at least by 8:45 tonight.
Okay, so
I don't think it would hurt having Chris spend 5 minutes, though.
Chris can spend as long as he likes, but it's the first item on our agenda.
So that's what we are elected to do, Kitty.
is to get to our agenda. So,
It's to do our
okay.
work.
So
let's
do you
bring
want to
them up.
just skip public comment and get to our
Bring them
work?
up, and Susan's
Okay.
ideas are good.
All I want to do is very quickly for Chris to just give an update on everything we've been doing and what's still, is that okay, Chris?
Okay, what has been done so far? The stop signs have been added at all intersections at Mooring and Lynn and Old Mill, so now we have three-way stops. The stop lines have been painted on each one to help bring more attention. That's it, attention to the stop sign being there. The extra stripe on the east side of the road was supposed to be painted tomorrow. If we do get a lot of rain tonight, it needs at least 2 days to dry the road before they'll paint it. So you have a couple days for that. I've ordered one bolt down speed calming hump. It is 3 foot wide, it is 20 foot long. Until I get it in my hands and see exactly how it's fastened and what's going to go, I can't say if it's going to be installed this year by the gate as a trial or we're going to wait till after winter. The problem with putting one in now is it will come out for winter time because the plows will rip it out of the ground. And once we drill holes in the road, which is, as everyone said, a brand new road, you're going to get potholes. So until we see exactly what we've got, I'm not willing to risk the integrity of the road on one. And it's also a trial. If it works at the gate, then we've talked about it at the board briefly that we will probably add more of them. If the bolt down ones don't work, then we will visit using paved ones and keying them into the blacktop so they're more permanent. But at $1,200 a piece, let's try one before we waste more money.
Chris, can you just very quickly, because there seems to be some debate about the town's ability to establish speed limits, can you go through that process?
The town cannot designate a speed limit. What happens is a group of residents can come to the board, this is the process, they're as crazy as it sounds, come to the board and say, I want my speed limit reduced. The board then asks me to contact the county superintendent and request a speed limit reduction. Then that goes to the state, and it's just one department after another. A speed limit was adopted on Mooring and Lane for 30 miles an hour. Getting it reduced is going to be difficult. For me to go to the state and the county and ask again for 30 miles an hour around those turns, which I use the term ball bank. It's a device we use that measures how fast you should be driving around those turns, and it's actually 20 miles an hour. That's what a ball bank's out to. I don't want them to come back and say, we'll just put a recommended speed limit sign up. We want them to look at the whole road. So we have to have some data before we do that. The town does own a traffic counter. We will be putting it in, but you're not going to get accurate data until the gate is down. I will have one down starting on Monday, and we'll get just the amount of traffic that's going through now. We'll do a week's data. Then when the gate, I'll say when and if the gate comes down, then we'll get more data. You can't go to these people and just say, I want it done. You have to give some supporting data with it. Otherwise, they're not even going to return my phone call.
Thanks.
May I ask a quick question about
Just real quick, and then we really have to move on.
Okay,
Go ahead.
signage. I heard about stop signs. Have we considered anything along the lines of children at play or blind curve? As you know, we have a blind curve on Old Mill, or that mirror thing that people put on blind curves so you can sort of see the cars coming.
The only thing I've noticed, and this was an email I got from really wasn't a resident, it was a correspondence between a few people, that hard turn.
That hard turn
right,
on Old Mill.
that people sometimes go straight on that thinking it's a driveway.
Yep.
So I did order, without telling anyone, a very large arrow sign, which is what they call HIP, high intensity prismatic. It's very shiny. You can't miss this thing, even in dense fog, and it's huge. So we'll try that. What they teach us in school is a sign's only as good as the person that reads it.
Right.
And they also teach us, as far as the children at play, that usually that gives people a false sense of security. You're looking at the sign, oh, everyone's going to be careful, my child's at play. Meanwhile, how many times have you driven by that sign and you don't even think about it. We had a resident drive through a stop sign. You know, he wasn't used to it being there. All of a sudden it was up. You know, wasn't expecting it to be there. It happens.
Sure, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that.
Okay, thanks, Chris. Okay.
Just ask a question.
Just add one real quick, and then we have to move on to the next subject. Go ahead.
I've been listening to everything, and I'm new in Woodland Pond 2 years. And I assume, that's what I'm thinking, when they built Woodland Pond, you're supposed to be required to have 2 exits, one in and one out, to be built. And somebody in Woodland Pond know about that?
What?
2 in and outs.
2 in and outs.
We do know.
One in.
What is the problem then? I don't understand what the problem is. If you're supposed to have 2 exits, what is the problem?
We're not going to start the meeting all over again, but thank you. Okay, so now, I would like to close the portion, because it's now 8:20. We still have another whole bunch of people on another subject, and then, like Kitty said, we have to set the public hearing, we have other work, plus we have our budget. So if that's okay, I'd like to end the portion of Woodland Pond, Glen Drive. We are going to take action, hopefully by 9 o'clock, to set a public hearing date on weight limits and truck traffic for lead wearing, and if we can add Old Mill, we'll add Old Mill to that. And my hope is that we can set it for next Thursday. I know we have another one, but we could. So we will hopefully be setting it for next Thursday and adopting it next Thursday. Okay? So what I'm going to do is give 30-second break, because I think people are going to leave, so it's not fair to the other people while the noise is going on. Okay? So quick break, and there was a senior who might need to go through this. Somebody. Well, no, because somebody came in with you, and he can walk out. He can walk this way.
Good to see you again. Good to see you. The only thing
This is the poster boy for lessons learned in bad planning.
And also, you know, I remember seeing a couple of
Why don't we do the public hearing? Do you see this?
Well, actually,
Thank you.
Thank you.
you know how it happens, because they all say,
That was with an engineer. That was with 2 engineers. We had 2, I'm still waiting.
Hi, did you see the vouchers that we have on extra vouchers?
That was with 2 engineers. A couple of lawyers.
and then we felt it again with the merchants.
No one can read it.
Just say Sarah.
Besides, you know, I was like a civil person.
You know what it is? It's that we have to sit down and do it. And you know, it's as if you have the Grand Canyon.
We should have never, you know, unfortunately, I think we should never, I don't care where it is.
Apparently, people think that
It says, that road says to make space.
if I take 4 employees to task, it's mine, right?
You know, there's room for 3 more. It's one of the widest roads in the country. We should never let ourselves be involved in it. And that was with the engineer, with architects, with us. You know, the second, okay. Oh, you're going
In my doctor's report, it's a all Jesus to use in work. Because I fell using it, and it was twice as bad. Well, no, it doesn't hold my balance like it holds up. So I fell down, the belt pushed me. I'd rather fall on the floor than use my hand. I apologize to shoes to get so loud. This guy who was bullying senior citizens at the last meeting pissed me off.
I mean, everybody.
Yeah, no, it's just traffic. He's the one who told him, he said, you can't talk enough. That's the same shit he pulled I did. At this point. I just find myself funny. I'm not defending Woodland Pine, but I'm defending senior citizens against people who want to see us die.
Steve Ehrman a lot. He was selling his stock.
I'm having a discussion with somebody who already talking about the calls and stuff. Right, making up figures. I sat there, couldn't say.
Orders.
I got the figures, but I don't know where he got them. I did the research, I've got the proof. This is his that I can't say. I didn't think it would be right. But then if he doesn't stop,
would make his property so much more valuable. Then only
I can't. I'm too hyper.
This is Herman Lane. When I look at this, Andy is saying that Herman actually property. I thought there was a strip in there that separated Herman's property from.
They submit this back any day.
He's saying it goes all the way through.
We're serious. We want you to have a chat.
I've seen the sign on, I drove by the other day, on
They're not following the vendor schedule.
Oh, well, then that's
I thought
it was ones that were already done.
No, Mama, they were not. What is this?
No, our right of way stops like right here. Now, that would he be happy for it?
I think that's developing. It makes
Doesn't make more profit.
he would be able to sell that much easier.
And then
Since I'm going to ask everybody to quiet down. Hello? If you're here for another conversation other than the next subject, please take it outside because we have to get going for the next portion. So now, Jeff, Kitty, did you want to say something?
I'm out of here.
you can, yeah, okay, it doesn't matter to me though, too.
So just for your information, the town board has no authority or involvement with the Smiley Brothers, Inc. two-lot subdivision that was approved by the New Paltz Planning Board in 2011. One of the two resulting lots is the 856-acre parcel sold to OSI, and the other lot, which includes the golf course and the main gate to the hotel, was retained by Smiley Brothers, Inc. The total assessed value of the 856-acre parcel is approximately $947,000. This is one of the highest assessed parcels in our town, upon which town, school, and county taxes are paid by OSI and Smiley Brothers, Inc.
It was sold for $9 million.
It was sold by, it is assessed at $947,000.
Okay.
Everyone can make public comment. Kitty's just making a statement.
Those are the facts. So let's go ahead with our...
I'd like to add to the facts then. The facts I'd like to add to is just to correct for the record. The property was sold by Smiley Brothers to OSI for $8.8 million. That's for 853 acres. Our tax assessor, there's two figures you use: assessed value and taxable value. So the assessed value on this property wasn't 8.8 million, because I checked our assessor's records. It's 4.1 million. And then for some reason, there's a conservation exemption that's been given to OSI, which brings their total taxable value down from 4.1 to 977,000. So, Kitty, they should be paying tax on 8.8 million, not on 947,000. I'd like to point out to the board.
Wait, you're just completely wrong, Kevin, because conservation organizations get conservation
I'd like to point out for the board that there is a town law passed in New Paltz in 1982, which has a very specific definition of which not-for-profits are tax exempt and which are not. I brought this matter to the attention of our town assessor today, and she wasn't aware that we had such a law in the books. And I'm asking her to prepare a summary consistent with the town law, which in my mind would permit us to tax this parcel at the full $8.8 million, which would bring in approximately $240,000 into the town for both the school, the town, and the county.
They have a conservation exemption, but they don't have an easement. They do not have a conservation.
They are working on an easement.
But they
It's
have
being
a-
developed.
Okay, anyway, okay.
Just to correct the record, you are correct. There is no easement on the property. The tax assessor gave them an exemption based upon a conservation line that they're not entitled to. All
Okay,
right, so
what I'd like
if
to
you
do is I'd like to start to do the public comment. Again, I'm just going to ask the same thing that I asked of the last group, which there are people here who are here supporting Brook Farm. There are people here who are supporting Mohawk Preserve and Open Space Institute. And again, it's one community. You know, I think we all cherish the land and we all cherish what we have here. And so I would like us to try to be respectful to each other. And then if there are issues to be worked out, we'll figure that out. But I'm just asking for us to remember we're all one community. So with that, I am going to, Everett, you signed up. I will put you on the list, Everett.
I gotta go home and milk.
Okay, so then if everybody doesn't mind, I'll let Everett Payne speak first, and you can go up, and then we'll start with the people I have signed up.
If somebody's been enjoying $9 million in real estate and not paying taxes, I hope they know they're going to end up in the federal penitentiary. And I'm one of the people that's going to push it. Because I pay like $30,000 a year taxes in the town of New Paltz, and this is ridiculous that they're standing there not paying. And I really want this taken care of.
Okay. Jack Pushker? Is Jack here? Okay. Larry Badansky?
Oh, no.
Bad
come on,
guy.
Susie, you know me, Baden guy.
I'm sorry, yeah.
Name.
I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm not used to this. Is this where I should be? I'm Larry Badendyke. I'm a homeowner. We've lived on Calvin Boulevard, which is just below Unison, for 20 years. And I'm speaking, a question about the times, Susan. How much time will I have to speak?
We're just asking people to be respectful of the fact
Okay,
that...
let me say then that I am not speaking...
But we're not timing.
I am not speaking for myself. I'm speaking for two groups I'm a member of, and at least 400 and probably 600 people. So if we have time, I would like to go on. And
I mean, hopefully it's not going to be 15, 20, 30 minutes.
No. Three is going to cut it. Short. But
Go ahead.
look, I was volunteered for this. I'm sorry. I thought they were my friends.
Let's just get going with it, and so we got to go. We have a whole budget to
You're speaking for
do.
all of them, but I have a list of about 10
and
people,
I'd like
15 people speaking on this. Go ahead.
I understand about time. I went to a meeting the other day, and I counted the sentences. There were 16 when I got. I can handle myself, sir. I don't need your coaching.
I just asked you to go along with everyone else here.
Thank you.
Okay, Larry,
We've spent a minute moving on.
Larry, take whatever time you need.
Okay, Susan, I appreciate what you're trying to say about we're all one community. A little revision, you seem to suggest that there's a conflict between the defenders of Brook Farm and those who support OSI and support the Preserve and support Mountain House. I'm saying that in fact is false, and the reason we're here is because this conflict was imposed upon us. And in fact, there is no real conflict. From the very beginning, when the first day of hall meeting was opened, there were questions raised. Why can't Brook Farm and Glenwood and OSI work together on the land? That has been a consistent position of ours on letter after letter. We did not want this fight. We did not decide to vaporize Brook Farm at the end of the semester. And that's what we want. Okay, let me get to the bad news while I'm here, okay? This is to the town of New Paltz. And I'm sorry I distributed them. I meant to have enough copies for you. We want town to put a moratorium on all decisions and approvals involving the 857-acre tract known as Mohonk Foothills, including a proposed historic preservation designation by the town of New Paltz, further subdivision of the 857-acre parcel owned by OSI and other town of New Paltz approvals, including actions on real estate and school tax exemptions until, 1, there was a public forum at which Mohonk Preserve and OSI provide a full explanation of their plans for developing the Mohonk Foothills, including Mohonk Preserve's plans for the Testimonial Gateway area, including the proposed 200-car parking area and retail space, and the balance of the 534-acre parcel they are scheduled to purchase from OSI. Glenwood's plan to create one or more incubator livestock farms on land leased from OSI. Plans for the property and buildings where CSA is being closed. 2, complete analysis of the impacts of the proposed uses of the Mohonk Foothills. Okay, I am presenting this on the... pardon? Okay, we will have copies of those. They all have copies of it. Okay. Adjusting the volume here. This is basically what we want, and I have to say that I'm sorry to have to do this. It's normal to start and talk to the audience to say it's a pleasure to be here. It's not really a pleasure to be here. In 1970, my wife and I rented a house on Yankee Folly Road, and we enjoyed walking up there. Some of our treasured pictures are taken at the Mohawk Mountain House. We searched for a year and a half to find a place. We love the Mountain House. We go there on our anniversaries. We patronize the preserve. We are, in fact, firm supporters. And that this has been thrust upon us is sad, and it is absolutely unnecessary, and we have not been able to find any answer as to why. Why, out of the acreage that's 20-some acres, that 20 acres and the house somehow can't live there with Glenwood. We have offered to work with Glenwood. We have offered to work with anyone. We have not been able to get through. If we have time, let me say who our organizations are. Am I running out?
Okay, go ahead.
Am I doing okay?
You're fine.
Okay, the Friends of Brook Farm. The Friends of Brook Farm were formed around, I think, April, when the announcement came that the lease would not be renewed. We formed ourselves, and we were largely, but not exclusively, subscribers to the farm. And we formed ourselves because we felt that the governing board of Brook Farm was not being adequately aggressive and assertive in defending the rights for Brook Farm. And it turns out that this is true. They have not fought for the continued existence of it, and we have tried and tried again to talk to the board. They have turned down every effort to admit us into a simple conference. They do not want to talk to us. What the Friends of Brook Farm then stands is the only group that stands for the subscribers. There were 30 before Creek took over. In a few months, he got it up to over 100, and those are the people we stand for. I understand we don't have legal standing, but the problem with the old board is that it was not elected, it was constituted when Brook Farm was, and it duplicates itself. And they have shown no interest over the 10 years of existence in communicating and listening to those who pay for their share every semester. Okay, next, Shawangunk citizens. I still have time? Give me a signal in a year, okay?
Go ahead.
There's a lot that has to be said here, and I have my colleagues here, and I want to give time for them to speak. But the Friends of the Shawangunk, and if you pick up the paper, okay, this is our ad. And we've grown in strength and sophistication and skill. And what that developed out of were people who were concerned with the Brook Farm, but realized that the issue was not Brook Farm, but the thing is, what is Brook Farm itself about? And what is this effort to vaporize it about? And it points out to what? To larger issues concerning taxation, concerning the relationship of the whole community, and not only New Paltz, but the 5 towns that surround it, to that whole area there of the preserve and the surrounding territory. And what we are concerned with is those issues of transparency, of openness, of consultation, and this is an assertion of of citizens' right to be heard, to have a role in the absolute running and how those institutions work. This is, in fact, a democratic people. There were charges early on that what? This was a small group of old-fashioned hippies from the 60s. Well, I happen to have a lot of affection for the 60s, and some of us, you can see I'm a feeble old man, and remember that, but we are ready to take this on. So we are concerned with taxpayers, we are concerned with a whole range of issues concerning this. Let me say who we have. I have, and I will be able to present to the board, I didn't bring them all with me now, about 350 signatures for our petition requesting this moratorium. And it would have been a lot higher if, first of all, agents of our opponents had not gone into stores and ripped them up, if they had not gone into one of the local stores and demanded that it be taken out. We had two major events at Brook Farm. We had a kite festival and a puppet show on the same day. The kite festival was a great success without any wind. And people told stories, and the kids made paper airplanes. It was a great success. We did not, under pressure from the Brook Farm board, request signatures, and we did not do it. Pete Seeger came, and that weekend was a very, very successful presentation there. People tried to persuade Pete Seeger not to come, and we did respect the prohibition against us making a case for us. We would easily have 500 or 600 signatures here, and more are coming in. I think I have lots of colleagues, and one of the great things about this project is the wonderful people I'm working with. There's a magnificent, Laurie Gross did a magnificent letter in today's paper. It's eloquent, and it makes our case. We are not against OSI. We are not against the preserve. We are not against the Mountain House yet.
Jacqueline Levin-Pritzker.
Hi everyone, my name is Jacqueline Levine-Pritzker and I'm currently a senior at SUNY New Paltz. I created my own major called Micro and Macro Social Change, and I'm president of Oxfam America at SUNY New Paltz, which is a social justice organization. So I grew up with my dad as a lawyer and then a judge, so I've gotten a lot of legal perspective into my life and a lot of stuff shoved at me. However, I think this is not a legal issue, I think this is a moral issue, and that's what I'm here to discuss tonight. I think the purpose of nonprofits is to serve the community, and I'm here because I don't think the needs of the community are being heard. I don't feel heard as a student. I know a lot of other students don't feel heard on this issue, and I know a lot of other community members also don't feel heard on this issue. I think there's a huge lack of transparency, and I think that needs to be fixed. So I'm here to just talk about why I love Brook Farm and why I think they should stay. I transferred here last year from SUNY Cobleskill, which is an agricultural school where I plan on studying agriculture, and I came here to start a club. When I came here, I reached out to numerous farms for support. I reached out to faculty members. I reached out to everyone. And the two people that reached out back to me are sitting in the audience. Creek and Lisa from Brook Farm were always supportive of us. We spent a weekend there. We've done volunteer days there. They've come to our meetings, they've come to our potlucks, and they've been fully supportive of us. So I'm speaking on behalf of myself and my club and a lot of other students and community members who feel that Brook Farm is a community asset, and as a nonprofit, they can serve the community's wants and needs. So we care, and we're paying attention, and I just want to ask everyone else to please pay attention to us. Thank you.
Okay, Ray Lunati?
I actually have quite a few things to say about different stuff. First of all, I think the bike trail is wonderful, but let's try fixing the roads and the infrastructure. It's not like not being able to afford dinner, but getting a chocolate mousse for dessert. I mean, bike trails, come on. And these people from Woodland Pond, they got to teach their kids not to play in the street. I had to beat my horn at a girl, almost got hit by a car. She wasn't paying attention on Main Street, had earbuds in her ear. Maybe we got fire prevention by the fire department. Maybe we should have how to cross the street and ride your bike on the shoulder. I live on Springtown Road. There's boards of bikes all over the road. But anyway, my name is Ray Lunati. I live in New Paltz, and I come to talk about Brook Farm. Brook Farm's a CSA, currently uses 20 acres of OSI's 857 acres. Information in the New Paltz Times states that OSI will designate 323 acres to Glenwood for farming. Plan is to have 6 to 9 working farms on this land. It only makes sense to include Brook Farm as Farm 1. Why remove a productive farm? Does OSI have a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde personality? As a taxpayer that subsidizes OSI and Mohawk Preserve, their profitable operations, I'm asking a town board that represents the taxpayers as a whole, because we can't accomplish this feat as individuals, to negotiate to have Brook Farm remain. Jeff Logan stated the other night, it is the duty of the town to accomplish what individuals can't do on their own. So it's the duty of the town to help save this farm. I was looking at the budget, but I would like you to not change the director's reason is we're doing the budget too, so I figured, do not change the director's position from part-time to full-time. I've worked with Chuck, and there's not a lot of work gets done with Chuck. So let's fund the department, not the department head. I think Chris probably could take on another department. Then there's the water and sewer. I'm looking at the budget, and my question before I looked at the budget was, has the town allocated enough funds for water and sewer districts so they are self-supportive? Has the town paid back with interest money borrowed from all of the taxpayers? And on the front page of the budget, I see the controversial Sewer District 6. They're budgeted for $77,452 that they're proposing that they would need, but they're only collecting in revenue $72,932, which leaves an amount to be raised by taxes. This is only one district. There's a whole bunch of districts here. So they would need to be raised by taxes, which is me, $4,520. Now, when my septic tank overflows, I know I can call Chris to send out the water and sewer department to pump it out, because, I'm paying some sewer taxes here. And if my water filter needs changing, or I need a little salt in the brine, he's going to come out with his men and take care of it for me, because here I see I'm paying water and sewer district taxes. Maybe I'm sewer district 7, it doesn't say. All right. So, in the controller's report from New York State, it stated that past boards, of which Kitty and Jeff were a part of, they were responsible for lack of oversight and fiscal duty to the taxpayers. That's not a surprise. Behind that sign over there is this report from the Riverkeeper. And that white piece of paper just on the left corner is a sign warning, no fishing, swimming, boating in the Wallkill River. The report, if it wasn't covered up for some reason, is 2 years old. I looked at the dates, I looked at the data. What is the current data? What is 2013 October data on the Wallkill River? Can we have the DEC confirm the Riverkeeper's data? And can the board gather information on this matter? I mean, there is an economic resource in this town. It's very low right now because the bladder at the dam is damaged, so the water level is done way down until they fix it. If anybody needs a boat, I seen it down by the dam. The water's so low that it surfaced. But we should be asking the DEC, we're posting a sign, dangerous conditions, no fishing, no swimming, no boating. If I read in the paper, which I did, about how horrible this river was, if I was coming to this town to recreate and I brought my kayak, I would be very concerned. So I think it's the duty of our town to find out if this is true. The Riverkeeper, I'm sure they've done a lot of wonderful things. This data is old, it's stale, it's like moldy bread. We need an update. And I think that's it for tonight. Let me check.
No, we're going to do the budget again. Are we going to get to the budget tonight?
We're going to get to it.
Okay. Hey, I just want to say one more thing. Kitty, you don't have to answer, but you are a part of Mohawk's Preserve Board. You are a member up there in some way. Would you like to say what your position is up there?
Like, I hope everybody else in this room, I am a member of the Mohawk Preserve. I pay a $70 annual membership fee. I am not on their board.
But you are on a board of something.
I am on the board of Mohawk Consultations, which is a completely separate organization from the Preserve.
I guess we can Google it.
It would be like saying Mohawk Oil is part of
Mohawk-Consultations, and we are sponsoring the conference on clean water called a Watershed Moment on November 11th, which I urge you all to come to.
Yeah, just a point of information, yes, she is, but that was founded by a Smiley.
And there are still Smileys on the board. Sure.
It was founded by a Smiley, and that's part of the organization, and in fact, your website has the Gateway Tower on
It
it.
is absolutely our logo.
Yes, you move in those circles, that's all.
Okay, Andy?
How dare you move an environmental survey?
Very dull. My name is Andy Weiss-Bartzak. I live in Gardner. When I lived in Catskill and then moved to Gardner, it was sort of like going from hell to heaven. Because when I lived in Catskill, anything that came along and they just mentioned a job or tax or something, people would take it. There were some of us trying to improve Catskill, but it was not very helpful. And then I moved down to the area which defeated Walmart, defeated the Marriott, pushed Lowe's away. So I have the optimism that you can take on a couple of these, what I call the Jolly Green Giants. And that would be Open Space Institute, Open Space Conservancy, which actually owns the 856.3 acres that were bought from the Smiley Brothers, Inc., and the Mohawk Preserve, which all seem to be talking to each other, but not talking to us. And I consider myself one of those us. I'm in the area. I come into New Paltz frequently. Last Friday night, I managed to get from Libertyville about halfway to Springtown before a traffic stop. Last Saturday night, it took me 21 minutes to get from turning from Libertyville onto 299 to get to the Chestnut Street light. So every project that's added to this area adds traffic. In the 10 years since I moved down to Gardner, 299 has significantly increased in traffic. It's not just lunchtime. It's not just when schools get out. It's not just during the college semesters. It's all the time now that there's traffic, which is sort of, so that Mohawk Preserve with their 100 or 200 or 300 cars that will be coming off 299 will be adding more to the grief of those of us who live here and who try to get around. So I'm hoping that you will get these green giants to talk to us. We have no idea what they're planning to do. They haven't held a public meeting. They haven't talked to the people who will be affected by not just the Brook Farm people and the CSA people and the people that go to the farm stands and the people that buy the seedlings from Brook Farm, but everybody in the area who will be affected by whatever is done with that 856.3 acres that is now owned by a nonprofit, which is not paying taxes. Actually, the taxes that are being paid now is about $38,000, and that is county, town, general, town highway, town fire, and I'm missing one here. School. Oh, no, sorry, school is actually. So that man who talks about paying $30,000, he's paying almost as much as is being paid on his 856.3 acres. So what I asked the town board is to do nothing to cooperate with anything else on this property until they tell us what they need to do in public, in writing, and they listen to us as to what we think of their projects. They're obviously used to coming in and doing what they want, but this is New Paltz, and you don't do that here, do you? So I think they're very surprised at the reaction, that people are actually questioning them, criticizing them. And so I think this is where we start to have that conversation about just what benefits are they giving us. I thought viewshed's great, historic designation great, but it isn't that easy. You have to see what the benefits are. I live in a lower tax town than the village is, but still, I'm in the New Paltz School District, so which is, of course, for all of us, our largest tax. And so every tax exemption affects all of us who own a property in the New Paltz School District or in the town or the village. So I want you, because you are more powerful than we are, to make them come and talk to all of us in public. Talking to each other, saying they talk to you, does not give us any confidence that we know what's going to go on. It's like we're being invaded.
Thank you. Got it. Okay. The next is Erwin Sperber. And it's all on the website, but we'll talk about this. Thanks for everything.
I just very briefly want to preface my remarks by congratulating Susan and Kevin Barrett for their exemplary courage in sounding off on the issue of just indiscriminately giving pilot support for a pilot to outfits like the Park Point project, which causes terribly heavy tax burdens on the homeowners in the area. And even though I presently live in Gardner, and the post office says I still live in New Paltz, I think I still live in Gardner because that's where I pay my taxes. But the fact is that I lived in New Paltz for the better part of my professional life, starting in the early 70s and through about the year 2003, just a half a block away from the village hall. And I never thought in my worst nightmares that I would ever be coming here and speaking to you about misgivings and grave concerns about the Open Space Institute and Mohawk Preserve, because one of the reasons I was so attracted to this area and so happy to take a position at SUNY New Paltz was I thought this would be a wonderful place for my daughters to grow up, enjoy the great outdoors, which I couldn't ever do having been raised on the mean streets of the Bronx. And we would go and pick blueberries there, this, that, and the other thing. So for me, this is an uncomfortable, almost paradoxical experience. And that takes me to exactly what I am here to address in the way of, first of all, a fundamental principle that appears to have been forgotten by Mohawk Preserve, by the Open Space Institute, by Glenwood Center, and really by the still existing people on the board of Brook Farm, which I understand has been somewhat decimated because some of the members of the Brook Farm board, because of their concerns and their objections, have resigned from it in very recent days, and I would dearly love to get the details about that. I'm not sure the farm board, the Brook Farm board, is actually capable of even raising a quorum at this point. I don't know. But here's the problem. These big greens, what you heard a previous speaker referred to as the Jolly Green Giants, these big land conservancies, these big non-governmental organizations have largely forgotten the fundamental distinction between being a steward of the land and being the owner of the land in a profit-making sense. Stewardship refers to the need to make sure that the land is managed in the service of public benefit, for the public good, to protect the environment, to protect the fish, the wildlife, the health of the community, the well-being of the community. Stewardship implies profoundly differing responsibilities versus someone who is a private owner. And I am afraid that over the years, OSI and Mohonk Preserve and Glenwood, particularly OSI and Mohonk Preserve, have gotten so accustomed to this enormously generous revenue stream from outfits like Reader's Digest, aka the Wallace Fund, and the Duke Foundation, and all sorts of very wealthy Park Avenue donors and Wall Street donors. They have forgotten that their primary responsibility is not to people of great wealth who live outside the area, and their primary responsibility is not to engage in land acquisition as though it were an end in itself. The responsibility is to manage the land in the service of the public interest, and that includes oops. We've had a high-tech collapse here. I'm not good with technology.
You're fine.
Yeah, okay.
Just sit back a little bit, I think.
All right, I'll try to get through this real quick.
Yeah.
First of all, also an issue that is important, that is central to the function of stewardship, is transparency. Everyone on the town board should know what these NGOs are planning to do with this 800-plus acre parcel, and everybody sitting down here today should know. I don't know if my life depended on it. I don't know whether any or all of these rumors might have some kernel of truth. Is there going to be a parking lot for 50 cars, 100 cars, 200 cars, more? What's going to be the impact of all that on traffic in and around the 299 corridor? I need to know that for myself because I get to and from work in Gardner by way of Libertyville and 299. Well, also, stewardship, unlike sheer ownership of the land, requires civility. That means that when people make reasonable requests for information and they call hoping for a response, they don't simply get the silent treatment and get treated dismissively as though they are little children who are annoying their mom or dad for an extra ride on a merry-go-round. The simple fact is that we want to be civil. We want to communicate with them. And particularly, and I'm not officially here speaking for the college, heaven forbid that, but what I am doing is calling to your attention, and I'm sure many of you are well aware of this, there are lots of very fine environmentalists, ecologists, people who understand land management at least as well as, and in some cases better than, the people who are at OSI and
Erwin, I think that might be nature's way of saying that perhaps it's time to...
Right, okay. All right, so last but not least, last but not least, these organizations need to be reined in for their own benefit. I think what they are doing is increasingly shooting themselves in the foot. They are digging a bigger and bigger hole by antagonizing more and more people in the community. And even for those who are employed by Mohonk Preserve, those who are close friends with people at Glenwood Center, close friends with OSI, close friends with Glenn Hovland and so forth, they need to sit down and spend some quality time recognizing the fact that the community is not going to go away, and it's time that they recognize they have to act on behalf of the community and not simply do things to the community. That means, for example, if there is a strong and well-informed support base for all the benefits that the Brook Farm now provides to the public, that should be embraced, that should be cherished by all of us, and we're all ready, willing, and able to sit down together and figure out how we can make that happen on the present site.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay. I think we've gotten everybody on the list, so...
I'd like to say one thing quick.
Okay, go ahead. We can extend public hearing until after the meeting.
My name is Chris Fuller. I just wanted to say that I think that the town board's moral compass is really skewed when a 20-acre farm that does all of this stuff for the community is brushed off, and a multi-million-dollar corporation that pays its executive director $130,000 a year, that charges people in this community to use the land, gets rubber stamped every time they're here. I think the town board has really lost its moral compass.
I have something also to say.
You know what? We can also we can extend public comment until we have a few items on our agenda. We really need to
Why
get
don't we
to.
set a deadline? Why don't we say 15 more minutes?
Well, let's say by 9:15 we're going to begin the business of the board.
10 more minutes? Is everybody all right with that?
Yeah. I don't know if anybody was here.
Can you just give your name?
Mike Fink.
Mike Fink?
Fink, F-I-N-K.
Okay, thanks.
I don't know if there was anybody at the Mohawk presentation. Was anybody here that was at that Mohawk presentation?
Which one? They've given several.
The last one where they asked for...
You're talking about here at the town?
Yes, and they asked for the town board to sign off so they could get money from...
For the bicycle pedestrian...
No, the purchase.
No, the town board did not sign off on the purchase.
What did they sign off on?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Asked the board to sign off on...
That was a letter of support.
The support of a resolution, the form of a resolution of their application for a grant.
Correct. That's what I was talking about. At that presentation, they said, when asked, they would never interfere with farming or compete with farming to this town board. I was here for that. When the questions were asked, they said, absolutely not. No farming, no cows, nothing like that we would ever do to compete with the people in the community.
Was this when they came for the grant for the testimonial gateway? I don't.
It was the last presentation they gave. How many?
Sorry, I don't.
6 months ago? Well, you were here.
That sounds about right. I just don't recall that exact language.
Will the minutes to that?
Sure. You can watch on. You don't have to. They're on our town. They're on our town website. You don't have to spoil it.
Who wants to see that? Anybody that would like to see that will see that the town board was informed by Mohawk Reserve. They would never compete with the local people in this community. Period. There's one other thing. They also claim that they needed the money to protect the property from Open Space, who already owned it. Open Space had already owned the property. Mohawk was saying we need to protect the property. So I guess they were going to protect it from Open Space.
Mohawk Reserve is buying a portion of the property from OSI.
How do you know that?
So they're not protecting it from OSI, they're buying it from OSI.
They wanted the money, they said, because they wanted to protect the property. It's part of the minutes of the
Well, anybody else? Michael? Anybody else?
Is anybody else who'd like to speak? Okay. Can you just...
Hi, my name is Lisa Mitten. I'm a resident of the town of New Paltz. There are many things that have been asked of today, and I'd like to add another question, another request. There is funding available through New York State Ag and Markets for something called farmland and agriculture and farmland protection plans. And Ulster County has gone through this process to get a plan for the county. And I'd like to ask if the town has ever applied for funding to do their own.
We have one.
You have one.
And it's been adopted.
Chapter 44, agriculture and open space preservation and acquisition. We actually have a town policy for protecting open space and farmland.
But we also have a separate farmland protection plan, which is what Lisa's talking about.
So you applied for the $25,000?
We have the grant completed, yes.
Okay. I'd love to read from that and learn from that and hear how that plan
you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else who, Ira?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Susan. Just time for 3 minutes because I really don't have any time. I just wanted to say what I wanted to say during public input before I got sidetracked with the people who were doing what they were doing. I was at the planning board meeting last week when they reviewed the CGR report. The problem I had there was with the chair, not with the board. On their agenda was public input. We refused to allow public input. They didn't have any cameras, so you couldn't see the guy from you don't have on record the gentleman from CGR saying we have too many police because our police are proactive and not reactive, and they don't really need any more because if we don't become proactive and we just wait for a crime to happen, we have more than enough. This was the kind of thing I wanted to question. I was told no. I was told nobody from the audience is going to be allowed to speak. Now, I would have had a problem with that, except that the chair allowed the people from Willerite to speak when they didn't like something in the report. I asked about when the public would be allowed to discuss the report, because I can't speak to anything in that report about the fire department, the ambulance, but I can speak to what goes on with the police department. And although the man has admitted, and again, it's unfortunately not on tape, that he didn't have any information to do his report because it wasn't available. And he's right, it wasn't available. The kind of things he was looking for, that kind of statistic is not available from the police department. It just isn't. It's not that nobody wanted to give it to him. So he's trying to take New Paltz, which is a square peg, and fit it into these round circles that he is coming to. I mean, things were explained to him that were questionable about, he considers a call to the village, which requires 3, 4 or more officers, the same as a call to the town, which requires 1, and he doesn't see the difference, although this was explained to him. And the only thing that bothered me about it, this is not the whole board, this was just the chair, is that it was almost as if he was going to take the report as is, because his statement was, well, when we come up with our findings, then the public can talk about it. Well, that's after the fact, and it's a little too late to do that. So I just wanted to let you and the public, who was not aware of what went on because there was no taping, know that this was
But
not
there
a very
will be a
productive meeting.
full public review of
You know.
that. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ira.
All right, we have 4 minutes.
Thank you, Ira.
My name is Rebecca Armstrong. I'm a member of the CSA at Brook Farm. In today's New Paltz Times, there was a letter from Kim Elliman, who's the president and CEO of the Open Space Institute. And in it, he said, the goal of Glenwood's project include giving a new generation of farmers the chance to own protected farmland throughout the Hudson River Valley. Nothing in Glenwood's plans, as far as we can tell, give anyone a chance to own farmland, protected or otherwise, in the Hudson Valley. And in fact, one of the biggest challenges to farmers in the Hudson Valley is finding affordable land to farm. They will be teaching people who pay them for the opportunity to farm, but then they will be on their own to find farmland, and it's my guess that most of them will go elsewhere where land is actually affordable. So, as far as I can tell, Glenwood's plans for their incubator farms are not going to support farming in the Hudson Valley. I'm really disturbed by the hints about what Mohawk Preserve plans for the Gateway Project. And I say hints because, of course, they've been pretty secretive as far as telling the public what they're going to do. I'm concerned because it seems that there's a retail commercial plan that in spite of the fact that they're nonprofits, that is going to have a huge impact on this area. And for instance, I mean, just for starters, on Route 299, I mean, it took me a half an hour to get from Butterville Road into town last Monday. So here's a group that is paying very low taxes on a huge piece of property, and they will be having retail operations, which I suppose are to support their nonprofit work, although they have the support of donors with very deep pockets already. And I think that their plans seem to unfortunately intersect with the 20 acres that Brook Farm is occupying right now, just geographically, in that Lenape Road, which is what leads from the gateway and up the mountain, is probably the gorgeous picture postcard piece of property that they thirst after, and it happens to be where the farm is located. That's the only reason that I can see that none of the parties who are involved in acquiring this land can find it in their hearts to share the land with this 20 acres of that entire parcel with Brook Farm. And so I would just ask that these organizations, which do an incredible amount of really good work, not go against their own principles and evict this cherished farm from the land.
Okay, we're going to have you be the last person, because then you wanted to speak, right?
Yeah.
Then we're going to really have to wrap up, because we do have...
1 minute.
I mean,
2
we do have,
minutes.
again, we have things on our agenda, and then we have to do our budget tonight. We're not going to get out of here till 2 in the morning, so...
Okay, I'm going to really...
I'm not trying to be, I'm just...
But, you know,
we really have to wrap it up.
right, but
because,
anybody, you know, I would hope that you would actually be interested, particularly after all of this talk about taxes, in staying and watching us go through your budget process, right? These are your tax dollars we're going to be talking about tonight. You are welcome, encouraged, invited to stay and watch that process.
Okay, I just wanted, I think that there have been a lot of really important points that come out, and I just wanted to end on the note that I think that my name is Sally Bernazon, and I'm actually live in Rosendale, come to New Paltz a lot. I'm a member of the CSA and the Friends of Brook Farm. And I just think that it's really important to realize what the potential is for grassroots, community-oriented stuff that's been going on in New Paltz and Rosendale and Gardner and the surrounding area, and how much potential there is for that, and that that places like Brook Farm and Under Creek's leadership have been a real center, a hub for that. Today, a number of us were in Kingston because there's a barge that's coming down, you know, that's selling food down the Hudson River, you know, in a way that's got a lot of potential for the future. And that there just is a lot of creativity for us to work together as a community building. And I frankly have never experienced as strong a community building organization as Brook Farm under Creek's leadership. And so I just think that that is why it's so important not to just kind of get into big landowner, you know, big wealthy, the Jolly Green Giant kind of thing, and squashing the potential of community people in this whole area. Thank you.
Okay, I just want to wrap up and thank everybody for coming, but I do have to just put something on the record because I'm really offended by something that was said tonight. When Mohawk Preserve did come the first time to do a major presentation to ask us for support of a grant, we spent 3 hours doing it because there was a particular person on the board who was not comfortable, and a particular person in the audience who was uncomfortable, and we made sure that every question was answered, so when the time came to vote, the board member felt comfortable voting and whatever. And we have, like I said, we have a budget to do tonight. You know, I mean, Jean's got a long drive. I'm having surgery tomorrow. You know, so to say that we don't care and we brushed you off when we've sat here for an hour and a half listening to what you had to say very respectfully, and we will try to do what we can, and we have, and a number of us have been meeting with whether it's Brook Farm or Mohawk Preserve or Open Space or whatever. I know Kitty's met with them. I know I've met with Glenwood. I know Jeff has met with Glenwood. I know Kevin has met with different people. So, I mean, I just want to put on the record that to say that we don't care and that we're blowing everybody off, I think is really disrespectful to us. And I just had to get that out because I just really think that's not fair. So with that, unfortunately, we do have to go on to do...
No, I also have to just correct a few misunderstandings. Many of the people who are here tonight were also here on Tuesday night, so you know that many of the statements in here are not true any longer. You may not have known that when this was written, but you were informed Tuesday night that there is no plan for a proposed 200-car parking lot. So that's one thing that you can scratch off your list of things to worry about, which is contained here. I think we can pretty much, they told you that it would be about 100, right? So that's not what it says. Well, you know, basically we can tell you that your wish is granted. We will not take any action on any plans of the Preserve or OSI or Glenwood because we can't. We're the town board. And as Mike Calamano, the chair of the planning board, who was also here with many of you on Tuesday night, made very clear, for any of these plans to go forward, Mohawk or SOI or whoever the applicant is will have to go before our town planning board. You will hear a robust conversation between our planning board members and any of the applicants, whether they're Preserve or Wilmerite. We have appointed more members of the Green Party to our planning board than any other planning board I know of in the world. So you can be confident that they will get a good looking over. Because I'm probably the oldest living member of any community group in this room, I just want to tell you that I founded the Wallkill Valley Land Trust, our local land trust, and our first project was the rail trail. And so much of what I've heard tonight in opposition to this project was exactly the same thing I heard from people who opposed the rail trail. It's going to hurt our tax base. It's another nonprofit coming in and telling us what to do with our land. And luckily, the majority of people in our community recognize the public benefit of a rail trail. So we now have 12 miles of rail trail in our community, and thanks to OSI and the Wallkill Valley Land Trust, it has been extended through Rosendale almost up to Kingston. There are a lot of places in our community where OSI and the Preserve have done wonderful work. And I just ask you to open up your hearts and eyes a little bit to the wonderful work that these organizations have done. Because don't forget, the town could have stepped away and let the developers who wanted to put a 300-unit condominium along the rail trail do that. Smiley Brothers Inc. could have sold this 800 acres to Marriott. We could have a Jack Nicklaus golf course. We could have thousands of condos out there. That's not what you want. And for whatever price that we have to pay for seeing that a strong environmental community is our home base, if it's the loss of a few $1,000s in taxes, we have that ridge to be thankful for every day. And that's all I want to say.
Okay, well, actually, I'm
Well, I think, yeah.
I think, you know what, I know Kevin's going to want to respond.
No,
Wait a second.
I just want to thank everybody for coming out, and this is going to be a further discussion.
We will definitely, this will be, like, again, it is going in front of the planning board. I can tell you, look, I used to live on Butterville Road, so I know what it's like out there, okay? I do know that in terms of the testimonial gate and that there have been meetings with Chris, I think you would take him with our building inspector to a meeting for them to show, Stacy didn't take you? Okay, I thought you went with Stacy. I know Stacy took the code enforcer, and they went, and Mohawk Preserve, from what I understand, showed what the plan was for the testimonial gateway, so she could give her input. Who was the one who said that they wanted an island in there for the traffic and
I
stuff?
was supposed to follow up with her on the next meeting.
Okay, so you're going to the next meeting. Okay, you're going to the next meeting, because Stacy had some concerns about traffic and different things, and she was bringing Chris out to it. So Mohawk Preserve, from what I understand, at least with the testimonial gate, is they're working with our building inspector right now to run things through by them, bringing out the highway so they could vet some of the stuff before they go in front of the planning board. And so a lot of the issues are being worked on, so it's not like, and again, like Kitty said, it's going to have to go through the planning board process, and there's going to have to be a lot of meetings, and there's going to have to be a lot of public hearings, and so it's not like this is getting done and nobody knows what's happening. I mean, the Brook Farm problem is a unique problem relative to the contract with the sale, and and how you guys are sort of stuck in the middle, and that's an unusual situation in and of itself, but I mean, in terms of the bigger project, it's not happening tomorrow. It's not getting approved tomorrow. There's a lot of statutory things that have to be done and processes that have to be gone through, and it's going to be happening right in front of all of your eyes. And in regards to, at least from the board's perspective, from the stuff that we have control over, because for the moment we have no control over Brook Farm. Mohawk Preserve did come in. They did a major presentation, and the reason I had gotten up when Andy was speaking was because Carol, my assistant, has had on her desk, and she's read it from cover to cover, a 300-page document of all of their plans, so she could understand what's going on to help us try to, find our way through this maze in a sense. So I went to try to find it, and she must have filed it.
It's available on the Preserve website. It's called their Land Access Management.
I'd just like to add a couple points here.
Well, I just wanted to say that, that basically that's why I went up to go find this stuff. So it's just not like, I just want people to think that this is happening tomorrow, because it's not.
But this is, what we have here is, as Kitty pointed out, we have our boards that are populated with certain people that have a propensity to give the Preserve and OSI a fast track through all the planning processes. So I'm at a historic preservation meeting the other night, and it was a rubber stamp, despite public input, was a rubber stamp.
Kevin, I'm going to ask you not to talk that way about our volunteer commissions.
No, I'm not talking about the
We got 5 more minutes before
I
June walks out.
asked
What
that
you
they
just
leave
said,
the
and that's
record
really
open.
disrespectful to
No,
our
it's not,
volunteers.
Kitty.
It is, Kevin.
Kitty,
They
Kitty,
worked
you
on that
are
for
an
14
arch
months.
defender of the Preserve.
I'm an arch
You
defender of the
cannot-
Preservation
no.
Commission because I go to their
You
meetings,
don't
and perhaps
have-
if you went to the meetings
You
of
don't have
the
a
Environmental
perspective.
Conservation Board
Okay.
that you're a
You don't
liaison
have a
to,
perspective
you would have a more
that protects
balanced
the
perspective.
interests of the community.
Okay.
You're advocating for the Preserve, and you have community members here are advocating for something different. So you should listen to them.
And I think, and in all fairness here too, one is, I do have to correct also, is actually only 2 members of this board have gone up and spoken to Kingston, to the Ulster County Industrial Development Board, and it's myself and Kitty Brown. We're also the only 2 board members that have submitted multiple letters to the Ulster County Industrial Development Association opposing the pilot. The board has all signed one joint letter, so if you want to thank anyone, I will just say you're welcome. Okay, so we understand the value of our tax base. We also understand the value of open space. The values of those need to be balanced. Susan and I were unable to be here Tuesday night. We were at another event. We were at an event because we're both running for office. The people that were at that event chose to move to this community. They have the means to basically live anywhere they want in this country. And where did they choose? They chose New Paltz. They chose the Hudson Valley for the beauty and the care and the way we preserve our open spaces here. There's a tremendous value to open space in this community. There's a tremendous value to open space anywhere in the country. There's a reason why a home is valued more up on Butterville Road than a home of the same exact size, same square footage, and maybe even on the same lot sitting on Cherry Hill. And the reason being is it's because of the open space. So all of the plans up there on the mountain, again, this board cannot become involved in, not for want of not wanting to become involved, it's not within our purview to control what goes on some of the lands. For the lands with a testimonial gateway, absolutely will be involved. That will be in front of our planning board, and what Stacy has been meeting with is the same thing we do with every other applicant. Any other applicant makes an application to our board, and wants to make one to our planning board has the right to meet first with our building inspector and with our safety inspectors, that could also include our highway department, and go out and see the land. So that's where we're with it right now, and I encourage all of you to continue to keep coming to these meetings. Please, it'll be posted on the website.
I agree with Jeff. The open space is an asset in our community, but it's now becoming closed space because we now have to pay to use it. So it's really not open space anymore, it's closed space.
I'm gonna just wrap this up. And I'm gonna just, and maybe I'm wrong, I could be completely wrong. My personal belief is, if Brook Farm was not caught in the crosshairs of what's going on, none of you would be sitting here and complaining about OSI and Mohawk Preserve. It's just my personal belief. I think that probably every one of you who are sitting here probably love the preserve and OSI, and that's why you belong to Brook Farm, because you believe in agriculture, you believe in sustainability, you believe in whatever, and because of this problem with Brook Farm being caught in the crosshairs is why you guys are here tonight. How we can help you, we're having the conversations. I've spoken with Glenwood, I've spoken with OSI, I've spoken with Mohawk Preserve. How we can help you, we can try, but as a board, we don't have the authority to step in and, and just make everything be better. So we're doing what we can, we're trying our hardest, but at the end of the day, what I tried to say at the beginning, when you tried to correct what I was saying, was I don't think you're against Mohawk Preserve, and I don't think you're against OSI. It's just that, there were people here tonight who chose not to speak. They were on the list, but they ended up leaving. But they were here to speak on behalf of what the Preserve is doing and what OSI is trying to do, and they ended up leaving. All I'm just trying to say is I think everybody in this room agrees on why we're here in New Paltz, what we love about New Paltz, the beauty, what we want to preserve. It's just how do we work out this particular situation that affects you guys specifically in terms of the CSA. And maybe I'm wrong, but it's just my personal belief. I mean, if you want to stay, we really do have to do stuff. And so,
I'm not here for just for Brook Farms.
Part of our budget.
We're not doing the A fund tonight. We're doing the B, the DA, and the DB.
Let's get on with the B fund.
And we have to set the public hearings for the.
That's the first thing
we have to set public hearings. I'm sorry.
No, please stay if you're interested in how your tax dollars are going to be spent. Okay.
Sure. I think we'd all want to wish you well tomorrow. And
thank you very much. Thank you. It's not major surgery, but it's surgery, so I do.
Any surgery.
Thank you.
Good night's sleep.
I do need. Thank you very much.
All right.
Okay. So what we have to do is, first order of business is to set a public hearing date on the weight limit on truck traffic for Lent Waring, and we'll add in Old Mill.
I noticed that Old Mill is in it, and I would move that for discussion.
Okay, do I have a second?
A second?
Okay, discussion purposes. When can we set the public hearing?
Can we do it? Yeah, that's what I was afraid of. Even though we can't just piggyback it on another public hearing.
Not next week.
No, okay.
Okay, so when we do? I mean, if
Want to do a special meeting? It's the 22nd. This is November.
Well, we might have to do a special meeting for the budget, right? But we might have to do a special meeting. No, we have to get together for the budget because we have to do a public hearing for the budget before. We have to do a public hearing for the budget before November 9th.
Right.
So
why would we add this to a budget meeting? That's
the public
just
hearing.
my
If
personal.
we started a little bit earlier.
A little bit, like 2 hours earlier, Susan.
For public hearing on the weight limit
On
for
this?
I don't know if they want this weight limit to be set. They want this stuff to be done.
I don't think anybody's going to be.
Talk about it. I'm sorry.
I don't think anybody's going to be opposed to setting the weight limit.
I mean, the question.
Well, the budget will be done. We have to do it in November, right?
Well, it's just a matter of the fact that if we were. I know we weren't going to do any dedication until we took care of, we were trying to put oil mitigation in place before we did a dedication. So we've been trying to sort of just move things along.
Okay, and
So-
can I ask you something?
Yes, Jim.
Okay, it's a procedural thing. Oh, never mind.
Good answer.
I clarified it myself.
Okay. Do you guys want to just set it for our Thursday meeting in November?
The first Thursday,
The first Thursday in November?
Right.
Yeah.
You only have one meeting in November because Thanksgiving.
because of Thanksgiving.
Oh,
Okay.
The budget will be adopted.
We have to adopt the budget by November 20. What day is November 20th?
It's a Wednesday.
Because we have to adopt the budget by November 20th.
Mhm.
So when is our meeting for?
So our meeting is the 21st.
We have to meet before then. because
We
we
will,
have-
for the budget.
Let's do the 18th.
So
Right.
November 18th, we're going to be meeting. Is that a Wednesday?
It's a Monday.
Okay, so November 18th is Monday, so we're going to meet on November 18th
7 o'clock?
at 7 p.m. for adoption of the budget. Okay?
I just
No.
got a text that our mics are not loud enough.
Our mics are not loud enough, we're not talking loud enough.
I don't know, sorry, but people out there will just get closer to our mics.
Okay, we're going to do November 18th, 7 o'clock, we're going to adopt the budget. We can also then, do you want to set the public hearing for that meeting? Sure. Or not?
Well, we could do it we can do it the first,
Well, we have to still try to figure out, we have to get a meeting together for us to have a public hearing for the budget. So why don't we first do the budget public hearings, and then we'll figure out the truck traffic public hearings, okay? So we have to have the budget, we have to have a public hearing for the budget by November 9th, right? No, November 7th. November 7th.
Oh.
Because it has to be the Tuesday, it has to be the Thursday after the Tuesday of Election Day. So that's the 7th, so we have to have a public hearing before or on the 7th.
Why don't we do it the 7th? Well,
Let's do it the
you want to do it this? You want to do it the 7th or the 6th?
My preference would be the 6th because God forbid it snows or something, because the 7th is the last day we're allowed to legally have a public hearing. So if there's bad
So
weather or
Wednesday,
something.
the 6th?
What time?
So let's do the 6th with the 7th as a snow rain date,
Okay.
just because it's getting to be winter. So November 6th at 7 o'clock?
Okay.
Is everybody okay with that?
Should be a 5-minute meeting.
Okay. So that's the public hearing, right?
Can Ian say the meeting your meeting?
Yes.
On the 7th?
Yeah.
this is the 6th or the 7th we're
Well,
meeting?
we're making it on the 6th, but the 7th is a snow date.
At 7 p.m.
Right. So this way, we're not putting ourselves in a position that if it snows or something happens, we can't be in
Chris, is there going to be any snow on November 6th?
Don't say the S word.
Okay. So the 6th, so then, do you want to do the 7th for the public hearing on this other stuff? You want to wait till November 21st?
Do it all on the 6th.
You want to do it on the 6th?
Yeah.
I think Jean's concerned that there might be a lot of people for Lent Drive.
Oh, we forgot to announce that the meeting for Monday night on the government efficiency
Has it been canceled?
has been, I thought you said it had been canceled.
Oh, I don't know for sure. I saw an email from Peter Fairweather. I think he wanted to because he has never, because
Yeah.
he has, so I think he did send something, but I don't know.
Okay.
It's not I haven't formally.
Well, Mike, just FYI, we'll get an announcement to you, but it looks like we may have to cancel the meeting because the Department of State hasn't gotten back to us. We'll let you know as soon as we know.
And we have an infrastructure presentation that night. It's not a board meeting. It's a presentation of all the projects we're working on that are infrastructure related, from South Park Corners Road, what's going on down there, Sewer 6, all the grants that we're putting in for Canaan Road and Cragswood, the water loop on South Park. It's
No,
now-
Monday.
It was originally 7:30, but then because Kitty didn't think there was enough time for the efficiency meeting, I think I had Carol and Dave Clausen try to move it to 8, but I don't know for
It's
sure.
still announced at 7:30, so at this point
Okay,
it
we'll
looks
just
like...
keep it at 7:30.
Yeah.
Perfect, good.
On the
Because that's what the
21st.
people were told.
Yeah,
So
that's
that's
for
on
the
the 21st here. So that's the 21st is an infrastructure meeting. It's not a formal board meeting, but it would be wonderful the board's here. But that came out of the county doing the meeting on South Park Corners about the highway, and that's, the infrastructure is not their part, so we offered to do a separate meeting. So that's on Monday. Okay,
So the public hearing on Lent is going to be November 6th?
Well, Jean doesn't want to do it the same way as public hearing for the budget, right?
Well, if those are the only two items, I mean, if they each take an hour?
I mean, I can't imagine, in terms of setting the weight limit and setting the No, through the truck traffic weight limit and the,
The thing is, a public hearing is that it's open for public comment.
right.
Okay, so the language of the law is included in your packet. It includes Old Mill. And I just think that, yeah, it could be subject to a great deal of discussion. Probably the adoption of the budget will go much more smoothly,
I expect it will.
in my opinion.
I expect it will.
So the question is whether or not we do an hour for the budget and then schedule the weight limit and truck traffic like an hour later, or we just do it another night.
I think that the budget will be easy.
Let's do the budget at 7 o'clock, and we'll schedule the
Public hearing on the
land wearing Old Mill for 8 o'clock. I mean, you know, I think we're just going to be sitting here twiddling our thumbs.
probably.
Let's do that one for 7:30.
Okay. We could always, okay. Okay, so we're doing 7 o'clock on November 6th for the budget. Then let's do 7:45 just to, 7:45 for the
Let's
land.
do 7:30, and if we
Okay.
have to delay it, we'll delay it. But
7:30 for the weight limits and truck traffic on Wearing and Old Mill.
Right.
On the 6th, and if the weather's bad, we'll move to the 7th. Okay, so do I have a motion to set the public hearings as recommended?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
aye.
Okay, motion so carried. Okay, the Ulster County Multi-Jurisdictional Hazardous Mitigation Plan. Do you guys need me to do a little bit of a background on that or not? I mean, we have to do a mitigation plan in order for people to be able to get reimbursed for the flooding. We weren't able to give people buyout houses for FEMA when they had money available because we didn't have a mitigation plan. We had applied and put in a letter of intent to get a grant from the state of up to $100,000 to develop a plan. We actually had our letter of intent accepted. As a matter of fact, we put in 7 letters of intent for infrastructure, for solar backup, for a bunch of our buildings, and for the hazard mitigation. 90% of the communities were told no. We were told yes, and we were told yes on every single one of the letter of intents that we put in, 7, which is pretty staggering. And some of them are for some significant money. Sewer 6, Cragswood, Canaan Road, which will finally possibly help with the people being able to get out during the flooding. So we did get approved for a letter of intent to go to get funding for a hazard mitigation plan. But during that time, we found out that the county was undertaking, updating their hazard mitigation plan, and they want all the towns to join into that. They hired somebody who's an expert with getting, knowing exactly what FEMA wants when you put in for reimbursement, and that's the person who's developing the plan. They're picking up the cost, and simultaneously, if we're a part of their plan, then that means if like there's damage from a flood to New Paltz and Rosendale, we can apply together, and we could probably get more money back together as we do it under the county. So in conversation with the county, in conversation with Stacy, in conversation with our new grants writer, it was sort of agreed that what would make the most sense is for us to join in the county. We are trying to look to see if we can, through our letter of intent, still possibly acquire some of that money to offset any expense we could potentially have. That might happen, might not happen, we don't know, but it's not going to really cost us anything. And so in order for us to do that, we just have to pass a resolution authorizing me to sign us up. The village already did it at their last meeting last week.
Okay.
So the village is going to be a part of it, and it makes sense for us. So basically what I need is for a motion authorizing the supervisor to fill out the form and send it in so we can become a part of the plan.
So moved.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Does anybody want to discuss it anymore? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion so carried. So this is a really good thing for the community. It's-
And Stacy will be part of,
Right.
and Stacy will be part of that too?
Yeah, Stacy actually already had gone up with, she had gone up with Kelly to the meeting that they had, the first meeting they had on this. She went up with Kelly, and that's why she came back and sort of agreed that this is what we should probably be doing.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay?
Yep.
So, yeah, she'll be involved completely, Karen Kelly. Okay, so that's that. Okay, the One Book, One New Post proclamation. I actually don't see a copy of it, but do you have a copy of it, Kitty? I know it's on here, but... Let's see.
Did they give it to you?
Yeah, we had it, but I don't know why it's not in the packet, but...
See if I can find it. I may have erased it.
Okay, so while you're looking for that, I mean, we could just...
Oh, but it's such a nice proclamation.
Okay, I would either do it next week, or I can go...
Well, she really wants us to go. Let me see if I can find it.
Okay, so while we're doing that, I need approval. Jim Littlefoot, who's on our ENCB, he would really like to go to the Changing Climate and Future of Our Water Resources Conference that's up at that Mohawk Consultation's putting on. It's $50. We actually don't have money in our budgets for ENCB members, I think, to go to conferences.
So moved, yes, I think we do.
Okay, good.
I think we do.
Okay, so anyway, we should.
I mean,
that's for
it's
sure.
required training.
Right,
so.
okay, so we'd like to, can we have a
I
motion?
moved it, but wait, did you just say ENCP has required training? Because I didn't know whether that planning and zoning.
Right.
They
It's
don't.
just, yeah.
Sorry.
Right, but I think that there was money in for ENCP.
And if there's not, I'd be more than happy for him to take it out of my life.
Well, it's B, isn't it?
Oh, you're right, ENCB.
Because it's joint.
I mean, I'm sure they have a budget and they never spend anything.
Yeah, they don't.
Right.
Okay, so just...
Which is why I'm making a motion, send Jim.
Okay, and do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, I'd like to thank Jim, though, for being,
Thank you.
Jim really, really wants to go, and he's just a wonderful member and serves us well.
Yes.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motions are
I don't
carried.
know if I should recuse myself since I'm on the board that's sponsoring the conference, so I will, just
Okay,
in case.
good move.
That doesn't really sound like a conflict to me.
I don't think it is.
Running a specific training that,
It's
But
okay,
it's
it's
okay.
just better that way.
I understand.
It's just better that way.
Thanks, Jean. You understand.
Okay, One Book, One New Post, do you have that, Kitty?
I'm looking. Got attachments.
Okay.
Proclamation.
Well, okay, go ahead.
Proclamation. Okay. Ready?
Yep.
Okay. Whereas the One Book, One New Paltz reads Home 2013 by Toni Morrison Initiative helps to restore reading to the center of American culture, whereas a shared reading and discussion of a single book highlights the pleasure and power of reading, whereas a shared reading and discussion of a single book supports the expression of diverse ideas, which enables people to learn about themselves and others, whereas a shared reading and discussion of a single book celebrate and build community by bridging and valuing differences that sometimes separate people, whereas a shared reading and discussion of a single book provides opportunities to invest in the future of the community, whereas a shared reading and discussion of a single book benefit our community by contributing to lasting good, whereas a shared reading of and discussion of a single book enrich the life of our community, be it resolved that the supervisory members of the New Paltz Town Board proclaim November as the One Book, One New Paltz month and urge all community members to support and participate in this initiative. I move that we sign this proclamation.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motions are carried. Okay, so, just in terms of real quick discussion, the village actually, last week I was at the meeting, and they approved entering into the IMA that Jeff and Tom Rocco developed. So they adopted they adopted the IMA to enter into a joint agreement with the town to start to work on a comprehensive master plan. And so the way it was given, I think it gives a lot of the power for the town to pretty much do the hiring, but I think at the next joint town village meeting next week, this will be on the agenda, and we should do it together. And I will save some other part of the conversation for personnel that has to do with the personnel of us doing the comprehensive plan, and so I will ask for a motion for executive session. And then, like I said, on next Monday at 7:30, we're going to be basically having a infrastructure meeting, but in terms of an update on the grants, like I just said, there's 7 LOIs. One is for Cragswood Road and Canaan to basically deal with the flooding, and to ultimately, if we could upgrade it from just Cragswood Road to include Canaan, we would be able to finally connect Cragswood to Canaan, so people during the flooding in Springtown Road will be able to get out on Canaan Road. So right now, the LOI is in for Cragswood, but we think we might, for Cragswood, but we might be able to upgrade it to Canaan, so we're checking that out. If we can, we are. But that LOI already got approved, which means basically, in essence, the money's set aside. We just now have to go through the engineering and do the stuff and put the application in. It's a real tight deadline. The woman from the state was in last week, meeting to go through everything. So we have that grant. Then we have Sewer 6, which is everything Dave Clauser presented to us when we had the Sewer 6 people here. So we've actually our letter of intent has been approved, which means, again, the money is set aside for us, and now we have to just go through the application process. Included in the Sewer 6 is repayment to the taxpayers for the money that has been borrowed to keep the sewer plant floating, which so is really phenomenal that maybe we might be getting grant money to help repay all of our taxpayers, which is
For a
phenomenal.
long time, we thought that was just going to have to come out of the actual Sewer 6 residents.
Which they could never
would have
afford.
been
They
a
could
real
never afford.
hardship.
So this could be a
that's
really
good work.
amazing thing where we could actually fix the sewer plant, bring in some, get the diner in and all that, and also get the money to repay and take care of the debt and all that. And so this might be finally, we might be solving Sewer 6. That's, so Sewer 6, Cragswood, the letter of intent for the hazard mitigation one. Then there were 4 grants for solar backup for the highway department. So in the case of a storm and the electric goes out for days and days, the highway department can operate with solar backup. Solar backup for town hall, because technically this is still the emergency center in the emergency plan until that gets updated. Solar backup for the community center, and solar backup for Sewer 6. So in an emergency, in a major storm and the electricity goes out, Sewer 6 will stay operational. All 4 of those letter of intents got accepted. And the generator one for
The outlook.
well, now that's what I'm talking. That's all the ones I'm talking.
There's another one on solar and upgrade of generator.
For
highway.
For highway.
And I think it was just highway and community center.
No, we actually know it's the highway, the community center, Sewer 6, and town hall. Actually, because when the woman from the state came down, we went through every single letter of intent. So those are the 4.
Waterloo.
Oh, right, okay, that's right, I'm sorry, thank you, that was the one that was missing. Also, we've also gotten our letter of intent, for, you guys want to listen to this for a second, because this is really important. Letter of intent for the loop system to bring water down South Park Corners Road and loop it around and to loop Cherry Hill. And that grant also got, that letter of intent also got approved. So, Cherry Hill, South Park Corners Water. So those 7 grants, the letter of intents, all got accepted. And so everybody's killing themselves right now in the process of pulling everything together, because it's a lot of work that needs to go to the state very quickly. So that's where we're sort of at with that. But that's all very good news.
The Canaan Cragswood, I suggest you get hold of Joe Moriello. He has a file from 1970-something, because it's been visited before, so...
I think a lot of that,
Is that going through? Okay.
I think a lot of the work has already been done.
Did Joe give you...
We went through that about just like 2 years ago. There was a big
A couple years ago, we had to...
between Joe Moriello and Dave Bowser.
Yeah, between Joe and Dave. I know Joe's got a very large file I've seen, and okay, good.
Which is why Cragswood and Sewer 6 are very big grants, but the reason we were able to pull them together so quickly with the deadlines when it all came about was because of all the work we've already done on Sewer 6 and all the work you guys have done, on all the stuff you had on Craigswood, so those really aren't that hard for us to like sort of do the finishing touches and get them in. But it's really pretty good news. So we might be taking care of a lot of problems. What? Oh, I'm sorry, yeah?
You saying about the solar panels? This is a great idea.
Well, so it's actually, I think, solar generators, right? First, I think it's generators based on, generators that are, generators that work on solar power.
I know.
Well, it's a generator, it's backup.
It's wonder if we lose power, the batteries?
No, it's, I think it's generators that are driven by solar power. Okay?
I gotta get one of those.
So, there's some, yeah. It's a solar power battery backup generator. Okay?
2 minute biography.
Okay, so, so that's that. Okay, so now we're up to the budget.
All right. So,
Can we just take like a 2-minute break?
Sure.
so- some people can drink a lot of water.
Sure.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
I have to read the minutes.
Oh. I missed a couple of those meetings, I think, too. Also, I should point out, I know this isn't official on the record, but I think of the Green Party members that we appointed to the planning board, I think only one remains. Because Augusta, yeah, Margaret Human has retired, Jonathan Wright has retired, and Terrence Ward, I believe, was a member of the Green Party when he was on.
Let's be returned Republican.
Just, they were appointed, but I think only one remains.
Terrence Moore was on our town planning board?
Who?
Terrence Moore was on the
He
town
was,
planning board?
for about maybe a year.
Who appointed him?
Terrence, well, I've been here forever, so I was probably part of that.
Is that the law? Thing here. Where's the decoder? It's written in a way that here too.
When do you want the color? She's not gonna have to go to her surgery tomorrow, because I'm gonna be in daylight out of it tonight.
Ready?
Oh, wait, no, I don't think we're, I don't, let's not forget that. I totally forgot that, yeah.
You don't
Look at the pretty color.
Look at the size of this. Feel the temperature. Feel my back. Feel my back. Feel this right here. Feel right here.
Really? Is that bad, huh? Really?
I don't go
Yeah.
anymore,
It's
David.
gonna be very good one.
Do they know?
She's never got pretty frosted.
I guess she's not as happy about her surgery.
Are you good, or?
All right, be fun.
In the middle of all this.
Wait.
Okay, one more reason why we have to do the budget and
End at 10:35?
Let's try.
You
think
can
we
dream.
I think we
Okay.
can. I think we
Okay.
can do this real fast.
I think we can too. We
And
have
at 10:30
easy stuff.
I do want to do a
At
motion to go to
10:35,
I do want to make a motion to go to executive session for personnel real quick.
Can we,
Let's see where we are. At 10:35, we will revisit to see if we can stop.
Okay.
Because I'm really good on the beef. I mean, I'm
Okay, so
really good on
really
beef.
quickly, what I want to say about
I know.
What I want to say about purchasing is, because usually we don't say anything about purchasing, except for the fact that Arlene, who's so phenomenal, and she's trying to make sure everything's done correctly. What you do is you see that you have the purchasing for the building department, planning, ZBA, historic, Moriello, same thing in the A fund. She would like it all charged back to each line, because for bookkeeping purposes, it's much better that way. Just like Chris is charging back. Now, he has the electric and the heat, for the police in their budget, in the youth center for their budget, and so she wants me to do the same thing with purchasing.
Excellent.
About
Here, yeah.
I don't know what you people have been doing for 10 years.
Hallelujah, brother.
Okay, so all I just want to say is that I will make a change after we go through everything, and when we come back with the preliminary budget, you will see those differences, but it's just these numbers being moved into the appropriate lines.
I think they're already moved into the appropriate.
No, they're not.
No,
It's
they're
all
not.
under
In
purchasing.
other words, we'll take it out of purchasing,
And you
and we will put it under building department.
So you'll have 1168 in that one category?
You'll have 1168 in building and grounds.
So each category will get its
Okay.
own purchasing budget then.
Right, and purchasing
fine.
will then be zero.
It's fine.
Okay, so that's it. Okay, the attorney was 26,000 in the B fund, it's staying 26,000 in the B fund.
That's gone
Now,
way down.
let me just tell you, the reason why it's gone real way down, and let me just also just do a very quick, Gene, myself, Jeff, whatever, looking through 2-3 years of tracking is, if the number's the same, it's because we sort of spent about that much money. If we thought we could lower it, we lowered it. If we thought we had to increase it, we had to increase it. So it wasn't just like we're just carrying the number over, it's just a pretty good number. The reason why this is so decreased from where it had been in the past, Kitty, was because there was so much money last year and all the years prior in the B fund because you were putting $65,000 in for the attorney, $65,000 in for the engineer. You'll see the same thing. But then under the planning board line and the ZBA line, in the planning board line, you had $65,000 in there, and that was all money that was paid back by the applicant.
Right.
And you don't really use that much B fund money for a lawyer because it's mostly paid by the applicant.
But don't you have to show it as an expense and a revenue?
No.
Yes, but it
No,
isn't-
not from the applicant.
Right.
Not from the applicant, only the town does.
Right.
The applicant, no, we do not need to book that money because we don't know what applications we're going to get.
It's going to be an escrow.
We don't know what
It's
we're
right,
getting.
it's
When we get the escrows right.
We can't sit here now and know what applicants we're getting next year.
No, but I assumed we had to estimate it, but.
No.
Well,
Okay.
there is an estimate in the B fund budget and stuff, but you had it twice. You had it in the planning board budget and in the attorney line budget. So instead of putting in 65, in the planning board line, you put in 65.
That's because in those olden days, we did spend a lot of money on the attorney
Susan,
sitting.
Kitty's right. They did spend a lot of money.
The attorney sat in the supervisor's office every Monday, right?
Tuesday.
That's the A fund.
No,
But that went down also.
Yeah, but if you,
Susan, I'm okay with the number.
Okay, so anyway, $26,000, this is for the B fund, this is a B fund attorney.
And
So
actually,
this is
one
like-
more visit just to purchasing, and let's see what Jean feels about this, just to revisit, is in talking to Arlene about purchasing and doing the separate lines, she may need, we need as a town board probably to come in more than once a month to do vouchers and approve bill payments. And the reason being, Gene, something that you wouldn't, I know, give me that look. The reason being is I keep questioning the late charges and why there are similar bills coming in at different times, and yet we're only processing once a month. So even as a,
Here's the thing.
they can't all be prepaid,
Because I
I
am
asked.
in discussions
Oh, good.
with Arlene.
You know what, let's end this right now. As long as you're in discussions, I know the right person is on it. Good, okay, let's leave it there.
So let's move on to get out of here.
Good, because,
Okay, so-
yes.
Okay, engineer, same exact thing. 26,000, I think we raised that one, I guess, because part of it, because of a lot of the grants that we're doing and the stuff that's in the B fund, so we knew we'd need a little bit more, because we're doing, a lot of stuff.
Is some of this offset, without me going, is some of this offset by anticipation of grants, do you know?
Yes, well, some of this might get offset by the grants.
Well, no, is it, did we put an offsetting revenue? I can look.
We won't know until we get it.
Well, no,
Right,
you
exactly.
you estimated an offsetting.
Yeah, so
though.
no, I don't
So
think so.
far, we're batting 1,000,
Yep.
right?
Yep, okay, now, control printing and mailing are the same exact thing, we're gonna move these to the appropriate lines. So I think what we had 875 in last year, but they spent 1075. In 2013, we already spent 1063. So, what do we have? We have
I have a page behind it where we reduced it to 975.
Right, I was just about to say, I'm looking at 2 pages.
Me too.
Yeah, so which one do we have in the budget, the 1,500 to 975? Jeff, do you have the budget here?
Yeah, which,
B1670.4.
oh, I'm sorry, I'm in revenue. Oh, I'm sorry. hold on a second.
975 tentative, is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
Yeah.
is that what you have, 975?
That's it.
That's it.
Okay,
975.
okay, so do you both have 2 sheets?
Yes.
Okay, rip up the one that says...
One is
1,500.
not .4, though. So,
That's okay, just rip up this sheet
yeah,
here.
I am a little concerned that,
Taking me, I'm gonna take the sheet away.
You want that one?
Yeah.
is this to cover all of the mailings for notices of public hearings to budding
No, that's in her
landowners?
budget.
Now, and now it's also within planning board, when they do
Right.
public hearings
That's
and
somewhere
stuff,
else.
it's
Yeah,
within
okay.
their own.
Yeah, this is just
All right.
plain, yeah.
All right.
So, okay. Central data, this is the telephones, right? I think central data is the telephone.
Computers,
Computers, this is May.
yeah.
We're gonna have to come up with a policy when it comes to the computers, but this is close to the number that it looked like it's
You don't have one?
policy.
You don't
They call May whenever everybody calls May when it's a problem.
Oh. Do you need one?
Draft one. Okay, building department, do you want to read what, okay. So, Stacy Road.
There you go, now it's all yours.
We're up at that, okay. Attached, please find the building department completed budget worksheets for the year 2014. 2013 adopted budget was 127,116. Proposed budget for the building department for the year 2014 is 142,015, which is an increase of 11%. The majority of the increase is within the personal service line, which is contractual, because most of her employees were part of the UPSU, the union contract for UPSU, and that contract did get settled, and it was a great contract, and the town did really well, but this reflects their raises and stuff. Other than projected overtime budgeted for, there's no potential for decrease. The project overtime is minimal and includes to cover staff time off such as vacation, personal. Please keep in mind that with the change of personnel, the town eliminated an employee by transferring Chrissy to the building department in lieu of rehiring the position vacated by Moya. The department part-time clerk thereby saving Chrissy's salary in another department. The personal service line increased 10.8%. As far as equipment, I have included a small wish list for a whiteboard, hanging map clamps, and brackets to hold them. This line has decreased by $682. For the contract line, you will notice some items have increased. For the year 2014, I'd like to have Kelly O'Donnell certified by the Department of State. And Jeff, Jean, and I, in conversations, agreed that she should be. This will allow her to cover my duties during vacation on other days off if necessary. There is no cost for attendance of classes and certification. However, with the certification, she will be required to maintain 24 hours of in-service training per year. The direct cost increase to the town is $560 for an in-service training and associate membership. The Department of State, again, is threatening code updates. I have budgeted $925 for code books because it's unclear if NYSERDA will provide them free of cost as they have in the past. Last year, I was able to significantly reduce my consultant's line, but based upon this year's activity, I have had to increase my engineering line by $1,000. Office supplies are based on this year's actual usage. The balance of my budget has remained the same as in 2013. And then she said she looks forward to meeting with us. So her budget is basically...
I mean, she has it down to paper clips.
Right, exactly.
Right?
Yep. And stuff. And actually, in the B fund, we have a lot of
Okay.
fund balance. So that's
Well-
Stacy's. Okay, so you're right, she has it down to paper clips. Okay, so now moving right along, public safety, it's a repeater. And where's the number? On the worksheet. What is it? It's like a $2,000, Kevin, I think, or something? It's 3989.
I don't see a number
I
on
know,
it.
that's what I'm saying, look in the budget, it's
4,600.
4,600.
Same as last year.
Which is, yeah, that's what, it's the repeater that we share with, that the village has and we have for emergent, whatever. Okay, historic preservation asked for 6,800, which is down from last year, but that's because last year, they had money in for the grant.
Which was reimbursed, half of.
Which was reimbursed.
Half of.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so this is their request, and it's down from 18,000 to 6,800.
Okay.
Okay? Celebrations.
Same.
We have money in for volunteer recognition. We haven't done it. We might want to consider doing it, but it's the same amount of money. It's $500. It was done in the past with the village.
I thought we were going to increase that. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's
Still
yeah,
in B.
that's, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, ZBA. Okay, Linda Donovan wrote the designation of Secretary for Kelly O'Donnell, position with the
I
planning
don't think
board.
you have to read this.
Okay, so I won't read you all.
We've read it.
Okay, so you guys are all okay, and so we accepted what Linda, the chair of the ZBA, requested, and their budget went up about $1,000. And that was for a new computer. Okay? And you have the quotation for the computer, so it's right there. Okay. This is planning board is, okay, it's 20,087. It's down from last year. And they took out some money for their planning board consultants. They took out a little bit of money of state-required conference and training. And I added in the planning federation, which they had left off. Okay? So again, this is their request. No reason to not just go with it. Okay, here's it.
This is state bid, isn't it?
Yeah,
Dell?
yeah.
Okay.
Okay. CIT, I actually increased $1,000 from 4,000 to 5,000. They didn't put it in an actual budget, but they pretty much know what they do all the time. I don't know if you need to comment on this, Kenny, or anything.
No, I should have brought the minutes from their last meeting. It's on my phone somewhere, but I think they'll be very happy with
Yes, I
this.
think so too. They do good stuff. Okay, ENCC, theirs is 2,800, no different. Okay, for secretary.
The budget says it's 1,000.
1,000, yeah.
$1,000.
No, it's 800 and 200.
Oh, right,
It's
right,
1,000.
yeah, right.
And just so you know, we have 700 and, there's $750 left, so
Right,
whatever
exactly.
training.
Yeah, they don't really use it, but,
No.
so it's just in there. Okay,
So we can use some of this year's for Jim's.
Yes, so there's more, there's
training.
$754
oh,
in
yeah,
there.
that's right, yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
$50. You're right, there you go. Okay, then we had to add in the consultant, the grants writer. So,
Where? There. 8092.4.
right, so I guess I don't have a budget worksheet, I just have the contract in here.
Now, Gene, should we also have an offsetting on this one for grants?
No, because you don't.
For
Should-
revenue?
Revenue, shouldn't we?
No, not yet. When he gets us the money, if it's one of those grants where it says, oh, okay, so if you've been paying for 2 years and you can put it in, then what we're going to do is pull out the old vouchers and put them in. But the revenue is going to be real in that year that we're going to collect it. It's not going to be real in this year.
You don't think we'll see, we probably won't see any of it in 2014?
Oh,
No. Just hopeful thinking?
I don't think we're
really
gonna.
hopeful.
Yeah. Okay.
But I do find Victor is highly effective
Yeah.
at what he does.
He said he pretty much, I won't say he guaranteed, but, well, you were here for the presentation, that majority of his work will be covered by grants. The grants.
Yeah.
But the application process could be 2 years down the road.
Yes, that's the problem.
Not a problem, I mean, it's just 2 years down the
Right.
road, okay.
It's a long process.
Okay.
Okay, and
Okay, so the money is in the budget for him, and what we did was we created, Jean, can I see this for a second?
I can't.
Okay. Okay, so what we did was you'll see that we added the grants writer in, in its own line. And, I see I don't have a worksheet here either for the master plan consultant.
21,750.
$21,750, which was the money that we had agreed to with the village board, would be our share to do the master plan. And part of it, remember, this is only the part for this year. There's money, part of the reason why it's so low, because we authorized $25,000, if I remember correctly, because some of it's in this year's budget. Some of it's supposed to start in November.
Okay.
So that was deducted, okay? So this is the grants writer.
I'm just, if you can briefly explain to me why, it looks like all these things could be A fund. I'm just surprised they're all in the B fund.
No, the village has its own grants writer.
I know, but these projects look like they would be town-wide. I mean, drinking water,
Not sewer
New York
6.
State Dormitory Authority, not sewer 6, but...
No, he's just saying funding sources engaged in town water, wastewater grant, subsidized loan financing, and these are the areas where there's money available. That's where you can go
I see.
find the money. That's not the
Okay.
projects.
Okay.
Funding sources engaged in town's water, blah, blah, and subsidized loan financing will include but not limited to. That's where they're going to go for
Okay.
the money. Here are the projects
Okay,
here.
thank you.
Okay? And then, of course, the master plan consultant is, our portion.
Right.
Okay?
Yep.
Then you have, scenic byway, $150, and I actually added in, you'll see Tree City. I was visited by somebody from the DEC about trying to get, it's here, is this it? Right here? You got it right here. The New York State Urban and Community Forestry Council, and they're trying to get, or the DEC's trying to get all these communities to become tree cities.
Right.
And stuff, they offer a bunch of stuff.
Where?
Here, you see this?
No, I do see this.
Oh, it's right in here. It's just in the whatever this line is.
It's 799.
Right.
Oh, here, 7989.
Yeah.
Okay.
7989. 7989.4. That's the one that has the scenic byway, and then there's the Tree City. And we're trying to right now. I'm waiting for Al Wagner, who unfortunately sold his house very quickly and moved towards the city. But he's working on, and we got, through the Association of Towns, basically, we are going to probably be drafting the very first law that allows us to do trees on Main Street on private property. And so that's going to be amazing. And so he's now drafting the language to give to Joe for Joe to draft the law. And Rhinebeck and a bunch of other towns are waiting to see us do this, so then they can basically adopt it and do the same thing. So, so Al Wagner had the person from the DEC who's doing this whole urban forestry program come see me, and so they asked if we would become a tree city, and belong for $100. So that's what that is. Okay, and then the rest is basically disability. And Social Security, state retirement, and all that kind of stuff, and
It's down.
insurance.
It's down from last year.
So, state retirement is down.
Everything on average is down from 2013.
Almost $3,000.
It's only the state retirement. Social Security is not down because the salaries have gone up.
But the whole category is down.
Yeah, by 3,000 from state retirement.
Yeah.
But right now, we're using the same medical because we're going to be saving money, and then it might be going up. So right now, it was agreed between the experts at this table, minus me and Kitty, meaning Kevin, Jeff, and Jean, that if we used last year's number, we should be safe for the moment. So that's what we're doing in disability, and all the disability numbers and all of these numbers were all checked by Arlene also and tried to work on.
Okay, so that's big.
So that's the B fund. So now we can move on to the DA. Okay, so, the bad news is no elected officials got raises, so Chris's salary stays the same. Carol West got her raise based on the union contract. And then this is basically Chris's breakdown for Bridges has to be in the DA. This is the debatable one. Then you have all the state retirement and stuff. What is different on this, which is a debatable conversation, what's different on this is last year, now,
It's a big number.
Tony had, the past supervisor had snow removal in the A fund.
Yes.
And we moved it to the DA fund last year, but we had a debate about whether it should really be in DA or DB. And in conversation with our highway superintendent, with the way that it really, the state law is such, Gene and I just believe that it really should be in the DB fund, and that's the appropriate place for it to be. And so we moved it into the DB fund because we're trying to have this budget reflect what we believe is the best controller guidelines, best budget based on conforming with controller's guidelines.
And just so you know, I agree it belongs in the B fund, and this is a discussion that Tony and I never agreed on, that,
Or me.
or
One of the few areas we disagreed on.
I think you're going to have to
I do believe
a
it.
resolution on that under the law.
No.
I think you do.
I think I'm getting deja vu from this conversation.
Well, we talked about it a lot last year.
We did have to have a resolution. I mean, you can have it.
I think you have to vote to deviate from the state law.
No, it's not, I think it's the other way around. That was the problem, was basically you can charge to the village, if we have to clear a town road so the village can plow their roads, we can charge that back to the DA line. And, but unfortunately, I mean, what Chris said, it's the other way around, that basically village roads have to be plowed for the town to get to their roads, so it's not the reverse. And so there's really no roads that we can really justify putting it into the DA.
That's in application here in the town, but I think we'll take a look at the law. I think
Okay.
we'll have to have a resolution authorizing that. I'm pretty sure.
I think what happened was we
I
were
think it's
trying
in
to.
the highway.
I think what we were trying to do, Kevin, is I think we went back and searched for a long time to see if the resolution had ever been done to have it moved to where it was being reflected, which is what I think by resolution you have to do it. So I think we went back as far as trying to even go back to Tom Nyquist and Rem Snyder. Remember, you and I were looking because we wanted to make sure that there wasn't a resolution that ever moved it to where it was supposed to be.
Right. I think the exception is to move it to B. I think it stays in A unless you accept it out. That's the way I remember reading it.
I don't know. You can go get
And
the law.
I thought the law was that it was in B and
Right.
you went the other way.
Yeah, it's the opposite.
I thought, but again, I do
Yeah.
remember this conversation. I thought it was supposed to be, I know we never made a resolution with Tony to move it to A. I know that resolution was never done, if it's required. But Kevin could be correct under highway law. There maybe need a resolution to move it one way or the other.
The writing, I think, is on the wall, that it's going to get moved to the DB. So let's just
We'll double check the law.
cross whatever Ts and dot
We'll
whatever
double check the law,
Is.
but I think it was the other way around. I think it's
Okay.
supposed to be in DB.
So we'll take-
You do a resolution to move it to DA, I think.
Well,
I don't see why there would be a resolution having it anywhere within the highway, if it were in the DA or the DB. But if you were to move it, like Jeff said, if you were to move it into the A fund, I mean, that's not necessarily a highway function where DA and DB are strictly highway functions, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm with you.
So it seems to me that to have it in a DA or a DB would not require a resolution, if such a resolution
I'll
isn't
check that.
required.
Yeah, Kevin will check it just to make sure, but anyway, I mean, Gene and I talked about it. I called Chris to sort of really get a sense of what roads would justify us keeping it in DA, and Chris couldn't come up with any roads that justified us doing that. And so we moved that to DB, and so that's the biggest difference that you see. Significant difference, but it's a big difference.
It's a big difference.
But fortunately, there's more fund balance in the B fund than there is in the A fund, so
But the reason why it's there
because we
is because they were overtaxed.
Absolutely, totally, completely.
Just because it was overtaxed doesn't mean we have to spend it.
Now, one of the things that we did differently in this budget too, which is again, better practices and better bookkeeping, before the entire insurance, municipal insurance was all in the A fund, but a lot of the equipment that we insure is in the, in the highway, some of it's in buildings and grounds, most of it, is, of course, it's the police and stuff. So we had Bob Stubbs break out all the equipment and then tell us the value for insurance purposes of that equipment. And so you'll see here, for the first time in DB, $25,000 in unallocated insurance, and that's the money that gets charged for covering all the equipment that Chris has. And that's where it should be built, to the DB fund. The A fund shouldn't be absorbing the entire cost for insurance, when the equipment's in the DB fund. So that's why.
Yes, but likewise, a more simple scenario would be the building inspector's cars not being charged to the A fund. They're used for the function of inspecting town outside village properties. And so, the same with Chris's stuff. But the thing is, stuff that Chris uses for, or we don't have any in DA?
I don't think there's anything in DA because that's really just Chris.
Oh, that's right, it was just his
Just
salary,
Chris,
right,
just
and
Chris.
so, right.
So DB is, we have some money in DB and then we have money in B. The brunt is in A, but some money's in B and some money's in DB. Okay, so that's that. Traffic control, general repairs. it's all
Actually,
Chris.
so we don't go by it, can we also just stop for 1 minute
Sure.
and all congratulate Chris and his crew on the Plains Road Bridge? We've been carrying that on our budget for years, and it has not been completed. And not only was it completed, I believe there was only one day you actually had to close it for a couple hours to traffic both ways, and that may not have been you even, that may have been the village.
That was when we were paying.
That was the village paving up to it. Not only is the bridge now complete, and everyone should go look at it, I believe Chris and his crew went above and beyond and replaced all the rocks that were before and after the bridge, so they will not continue to erode away the dirt. I don't know if that was part of your responsibility, but it looks fantastic.
We actually found out that it had a concrete floor too. It wasn't actually in the engineer's report, so it all worked out pretty well.
Well, thank you very much. It looks wonderful. We've been carrying it on the books for, well, Kitty's probably seen it for.
I have lost count.
Yes,
Okay.
so I thank you very much for getting it done. You guys did a great job, so thank you.
Didn't you also bring it in at less money?
I don't have the total on that one. It's not going to be a quarter of what was originally budgeted. We did all the work ourselves.
It'll be a quarter of what was budgeted.
Yeah.
25% of what was budgeted. Give us back to 75% then.
So,
Yeah, you got it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris. So it looks
Thank you.
fantastic, and we
Okay,
appreciate it.
Okay, so that's good. So anyway, so general repairs, this is all Chris's stuff. Machinery, garage, miscellaneous brush, weed, snow removal. Let's pray it doesn't snow, which you see is now in DB. And then, of course, retirement, unemployment, and again, you see state retirement, 110 down to 50, which is really helps. Really helps a lot in every single line. So I guess whatever the governor's doing with the Tier 6 versus the Tier 1 is starting to finally reflect in our budgets. Okay, so if you have no questions on that, then the rest is basically stormwater, and it's stormwater, and then all the water and sewers, and Dave Clauser does a lot, he volunteers and doesn't charge us, and he does a lot of help with trying to figure out the usage and all that kind of stuff and getting the numbers, really tight. And then Gene,
There's no medical retirement at all assigned to these categories?
it should be, but I think it's just,
Shouldn't we?
it's so
Yeah,
minimal.
And it's not minimal, sorry, but it is budgeted as a pay-as-you-go. We don't restrict it into a separated line for the retirees. It's included in each fund's medical line because it's part of the bill. So out it goes. Now, one of the things that the town had done in the past was take what the employee contribution and the retiree contribution and just dump it into the expense line to reduce the expense.
We're not doing that.
That is a very, very poor practice.
Can't account for it.
So, no. So now we are setting up for 2014 revenue line for the anticipated revenue of employee contributions and retiree contributions. So what you see in the medical line per fund includes the retiree amounts as well.
Okay, but how about the SDA fund, the SDB fund, SDC fund? There isn't an allocation at all of any of the,
Oh, in the stormwater
Yeah, those are
districts?
stormwater districts.
If there's no personnel in there, they didn't put it in.
but would it make sense to allocate a portion of the time spent?
If you allocate a portion of time spent there, which means that somebody needs to start documenting, or somebody needs to pull out the payroll
I can't
and
remember.
go back and allocate the hours.
Yeah, but remember again, it's not personnel,
I-
it's contractual.
We have one stormwater
Yeah.
district that we have now, and we don't do any maintenance.
Right.
Well, you have more than one, you just have one
We
that,
have one that's actually been adopted,
right, we have another,
under construction.
we have two being built right now, so Kevin, the example would be
It's not per-
Waring Lane.
Oh, so it'll be in later years. then.
Yeah.
But right now, it's just the first three ones, Kevin, I'm sorry, are water districts.
Yeah.
And you see it's in point
Stormwater,
four.
yeah.
So there's no personnel, which is why there's no medical. Okay?
So next year, you definitely have to be probably budgeting $5,000, $8,000 in, maybe in stormwater districts.
Yeah, they'll be,
But you see, when you go
Yeah.
now, when you go to the water districts and stuff, the water and sewer, you'll see the medical benefits are in there.
Okay.
Okay, so yes, they are built accordingly to, you got all your water sewer districts.
We have community partnership.
Weird, I don't know if it's the new program that we're using, but when I was first starting out on this and saw the budgets, I kept asking, why can't we have all of these expenses in each department? And I was told that the software didn't permit it. But I'm very glad to see that we're doing it now, because it just gives you a handle.
We're in deep discussions on very, very deep.
We're trying to,
We talk a lot when I'm driving.
let me put it this way, Arlene said, and I will say she was absolutely a yeoman, because she also came in on Saturday and came in on Sunday to help on the budget and stuff, so she was here also, working on the budget and stuff. And when she complimented us on the budget, she said, well, she said, and next year it's going to be even better, because we're going to save so much more money when we get everything put in place.
That was a good hire.
What?
Well, we really know what's going on.
Well, Arlene also, and
She's doing a
it's,
great job.
as some of you know, I come in very early to pick up my mail, and she is frequently here.
Yeah.
And I'm here very early, and she is starting her day, and she says her new assistant is working out fantastic.
Good,
So
great.
she's taking she seems to be, have you met her, the new?
I didn't mean her, no.
Yeah, apparently she's very, very comfortable with computers, very comfortable with Excel, and very comfortable with doing bookkeeping. So,
We had a lot of discussion about your system.
No, but I mean, she really needed, again, she was put in a situation, we thought she'd have more training.
Yeah.
She's doing a yeoman's job. I mean, she is very, very, very overwhelmed, but she's doing a phenomenal job. And this person's now really helping her with, entering a lot of the data in and stuff. And she's really getting a handle on making sure things are book kept exactly, the way they need to be book kept, and things are going to be tighter and tighter and tighter. Okay, in terms of the revenues, if you just look down them really pretty quickly, the pilot payment, we called the county, and we got, and I think you've got the packet in here I gave to you, which is all the pilots and who pays what.
I saw.
I figured you'd be all really interested in that. So we were making copies of what, and Carol said, should I make copies of this? I said, I think this is something the board wants to see. So you have the, who pays what pilot. So you have that.
The one I saw, Susan, was just for this year.
Well, that's because it was 2014.
Right. Yeah, but can we get somebody to generate a spreadsheet showing what we're going to be getting, say, 5 years out?
it's actually in the pilot contract, so yeah,
Right.
we can, there actually is a spreadsheet in the actual.
To consolidate that?
I think Lori can do that.
Yeah.
Well, she might be able to. I mean, we had to actually call up the county to get a handle on every single one, and, you know, and we asked them to send us stuff on every one. So anyway, this is the 2014 pilot payment revenue, and then we can sort of look at the
Is that
different
sales tax number good?
Sales tax number's good. Jean and I talked about that for a while. I suspect that what's going to happen, where it looks at now, from what I've been told, that it's going to get approved at the very beginning of the session, and if we lose just pretty much the month of January is about all we're going to lose. The economy's picking up, things are doing better, and so Jean didn't think we needed to decrease it.
Christmas.
We do lose Christmas, but that's this year. We're talking about next year.
Yeah, down to 2610. Is there a reason why the as-of date is so?
Because of when you get the the check-in.
I would think that as-of would be higher.
2610. Fines and forfeit.
No, you're talking about sales tax and fines and forfeiture.
Down below.
Because it's when we get the check-in. We might not get it until December. We get them like, you know.
You're talking about sales tax now, right?
We're talking about fines and forfeitures
Okay.
too. We get a really big check, I think in like December
Okay.
or something.
No, we get it monthly, but it's behind. It's always behind.
So this is really a 7-month total instead of a 9 or 5-month total.
Probably something like that, yeah.
Okay.
We're in the 8 fund. How did that get, that shouldn't even be in here. This is revenues.
Because it's the whole
I'm sorry. We shouldn't even be on that right now because that's the revenues for the 8 fund. We're not
Who's
even doing
next
8
in
fund.
line though?
What?
Well, there's only the one page, revenues are,
Right, no, I'm just looking, that's why I got confused for a second. Okay.
You're
Because
not
we
gonna
weren't
see a
doing
ton of
that, we
revenue.
weren't doing the revenues right now. Okay, we were doing, so we did did we do everything?
done.
We did every fund.
Done.
Right, we're done.
1038.
3 minutes over with Jeff, that money.
Yeah, we're done with all that. So we have to do the 8 fund,
Okay.
which we want to do with Chris, and the people that we want to have here for the 8 fund, we want Chris and Laura, and we'll have the chief come in, and I think those are pretty much the only department heads we need. Jim might want to come and see us, but I'm not sure why he got everything he wanted. But,
Which,
Well, right, I mean,
Yes.
we probably only need to.
yeah, we won't get that until,
So,
we didn't do anything, but I think
Yeah.
it would be, Bill wants to come
right,
too?
and then,
well, I mean, we had,
Yeah.
you know, Jean and I had like a $2,000 electric bill for Moriello in this month's vouchers, so are we starting to put all of those things all together in the same place?
With, you mean in terms of Naomi and our discussions?
I mean, I'm just so grateful to get some of these things all in the same department, but it's hard to
Central
go.
Hudson is an issue, the phone, Verizon's an issue.
Okay.
There's a lot of things that's an issue, and it boils, yeah.
Okay.
can you
It's
please,
hard to know what it
can you
really
have
costs.
discussions, please, on cell phones?
Um,
I just want discussions. I think I like where discussions go.
do we have a cell phone policy at the town? Because we really should, because there's a lot of cell phones.
Do you want one?
Yeah, I do.
Could you write one?
I sure could.
Thank you.
I do know, but I wasn't here. Were you here, Rosanna, when the Verizon guy came in?
Yes.
And he was speaking about how to...
I guess there's
Here, honey.
I guess there's some issues with the plan and some fees that were being charged that are incorrect, that were never looked into before. So I believe the rep said he was going to look into that because he took copies of prior bills. So I know Arlene's working with him on that. And he also said that they have some kind of program that will help with meter readings if we upgraded our meters, like the village and the town board agreed to.
That's interesting.
So they have programs that will help other departments, including the building department, the highway. Doesn't apply to my department at all, but
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
That was really nice of you to talk to him.
Well, no, what happened was Carol put together a meeting of all the department heads to come together to talk to the Verizon guy to figure out how we could best manage the cell bills, the cell phones, and some of the fees and stuff. So Carol asked all the department heads to come and have a meeting with the Verizon guy.
Yeah, we, municipal, we only pay some of the taxes, but some of the taxes we are exempt from, but not 100%.
Yeah. That's always driven me crazy.
Yes,
You know about
but you have
making
to,
that
but you
use
have
of
to
Verizon,
really,
right?
really fight.
It's to make them look like Verizon because they
Oh,
So he uses a different company, he won't use Verizon.
excellent.
Okay, so is everybody okay with the
We are.
BDADB?
Yes.
So I'm going to just make those couple of changes for the purchasing and mailing and whatever back to their lines, and that's how you'll see a change in that budget.
Okay.
And so,
So we
So we're gonna
did
do-
the easy stuff first.
yeah, so we're going to do the A fund next meeting. We'll just do it at the next board meeting.
Yeah.
And then we'll just try to ask all the appropriate department, anybody who wants to come, they could just come. And we'll just try to keep the
Okay.
agenda down to a minimum.
Do you have a warrant you want to approve?
Sure.
I
don't know.
I got stuff.
To add to the warrant?
Well, why is that, well, how come,
I'll explain if you want me to.
I don't know if I do well. How come this stuff all?
I'm going to guess this is a result of conversations.
No, this is going to instigate new conversations.
Well, we touched on it, and the bookkeeper would really like something done about it. And I think you can imagine my response, because a lot of them exceed the due date for vouchers.
Right.
being
So,
due.
but how do we do our warrant tonight?
Well, this is why I went through those. I looked at the due dates, and they're very close. I would say that the culprits are the department heads, and their heads should roll. I do have some problems here. Oh no, these are okay.
Well, let me just ask you a question. Can't we do the warrant as presented and then do these next week if,
I think that's what we
as
should do.
opposed to waiting a whole month?
Can these wait until next week?
I mean, we'll just do these next week.
Or some of the due dates, are we looking at late charges now?
Some of them are like due October 31st.
Yeah, but we're meeting next week, which is the 24th.
25th. But that doesn't give her much time to turn around.
No, she turns around the next day and gets them out in the mail.
All right.
The next morning.
It's just,
I wouldn't feel comfortable, all of a sudden taking out a calculator and adding all this up and approving it.
I reviewed them.
Well, I trust your review.
I reviewed everything in your hands and Kitty's hands. I reviewed 2 of them are replacing a lost check from March. I don't know why the company just realized it. But this is part of why we have a problem with Central Hudson, why we have a problem with Verizon. You know, you go.
okay, while we're talking about problems, Jean and I do not sign the vouchers in this little box.
Oh, yeah, I will not authorize that the funds are available.
We either need to use a different voucher form or, the department head has to verify that the funds are still left.
Well, actually, that's why I always have Arlene or Patty before, I always need a copy of the current budget or I can't sign them.
Well, this is the thing that...
Now, that doesn't mean, it means that it says they're available when I have the current.
I know, but I think that when it says I hereby certify that funds are available, that's the department head.
Well, this is
who's responsible.
This is what Arlene wants to implement also. She said that, it might just be a little bit harder, and we might have to start it in January, or we could try to do it sooner, but like, in essence, how at the end of the year, we do all these budget transfers, so
Yeah.
you transfer from line to line, so every line ends up, being basically made whole. Well, what Arlene is saying, in a sense, is, when they approve this, when they put something in, they've got to be bookkeeping and whatever, and so if they ran out of money in their line, we should not be approving something without, right then and there saying, okay, why did you run out of money? Why didn't you budget it correctly? And where do you want to take the money from? And so if we're going to approve something when the money's not in that line anymore, we know exactly where it is, and we make that transfer at that moment, so we're making sure everything is always accounted for. And what she's saying is, by not doing it that way, we're not, like, the department heads aren't being accountable for their budgets, because at the end of the year, we're going to make it all whole. It's like we're going to move things around and just make sure everything's okay. So that would, in a way, once she implements that, you'd be okay to put it in here if the department head signs off saying,
Right, but why can't the department head sign here, because this is administrator or chief financial officer, which is you.
Right. I know. And technically, you're right, because I have to sign every voucher, so they should be signing here, and I should be signing every single one there.
That's my point.
Now, the only thing is, though, then...
Vendors never sign them.
Well,
I've never seen a vendor sign in the vendor box.
The only issue I'm kind of having is, and I'll go back, it has not happened, I don't think it's happened this year. In past years, there's been vouchers I've refused to sign because there were no money in the lines. In fact, I think there was a couple last year. It used to happen frequently, either the wrong line was used and there was no money in that line, or it used to happen frequently near the end of the year. So I just wouldn't sign it until we moved the money.
That was the year before, Jeff.
It was a few years ago. It was a few years ago.
Mike, before you go, just for the record, when Ray said that those audits, those budgets were approved by Jeff and me, they weren't. That was the year that the budget was not approved at all, because Jeff and I wouldn't sign on to it. So I know that's going to be your lead story next week. So.
Now it is.
2010, 2011 was in the...
I voted no on those budgets also, by the way. Right. So thank you. You're welcome. So I think, though, Gene, is what I'm wondering, though, is I do believe, and I will gladly stand corrected, that we shouldn't be signing these, though, unless we do know the funds are there. My comfort level is not there right now with every department head and you can change me on this too, but right now my comfort level is not there with our department heads that they have a firm grasp, and I'm not picking our department heads, that they're not getting the report that says I have...
Let's talk about this for a minute.
Yes.
Okay, let's talk about it. Okay. So,
see how she comes alive no matter what time it is, as long as it's budget.
I'm not going to be held responsible for a voucher that a department head has generated. I'll check the math, I'll make sure it's signed off on, I'll make sure the documentation's there, and I'll make sure it's in compliance in the guidelines of the comptroller's office. But I'm not going to verify that there's money in that line.
Okay.
The department head has requested this voucher, it's been encumbered. I expect them to act responsibly. Otherwise, you know what they did when they purchased the Edmunds software, where a department head can sit in another building and go into the financial software and pull down a voucher, that just kills me. Because if the integrity of the finances is corrupted one day because of the ability to do that, then you got I don't even know if we have a backup, okay? You got to take the backup, you got to back it up, use the old stuff, and then you got to start all over again for the day or the week or the month or whenever your backup's from.
Okay, so I will absolutely, I understand what you're saying. So if the integrity of the system is based on our bookkeeper or a fiscal officer encumbering it and producing it, and we know, or I know for a fact that it's an encumbered fund coming to me to sign for, then absolutely I can sign for it with good faith. Now, I will still check the line probably. I will make sure that, to your example, part of the auditing is to make sure that the line they're taking it out of is the correct line for what I feel that expense is. But right now, well, I won't say no. In the past, we always worked off of, I always had problems too, because there'd be numbers crossed off and it was, oh, we just give them a stack of vouchers, and then they put in that monthly expense, and they would cross off whatever dollar amount was, so to speak, encumbered. It could be plus, it could be minus, and they just had access to them, and they just submitted it in.
Why can't the software show what's left?
That, I was just
On the
gonna say.
I think that's,
You can't request a voucher if there isn't enough money.
Well, shouldn't the voucher itself show what they're requesting and what's left in the line?
Oh, yeah, no, that's like, well, I'll explain.
good question, though.
Because that's like two different modules of the accounting software. One is in accounts payable and one is in general ledger reports. Two different modules.
No, but if Jeff has to look in the physical line to see if there's money there should be a way to avoid that and have that information on the document you're looking at.
Well, then I would suggest that we tell our department heads that they have to make a manual notation on there for us in the future.
Well, don't we have the ability to be able to input the information for a voucher into a system that would automatically account for that? I mean, why do we have to manually do vouchers?
This is not manual.
Well, that's, no, that's not. But
The auditing is manual.
But there's no,
why can't we have more information about the line on the voucher that's requesting money from the line?
I'll add it to my discussions as to what's available.
And then you won't have to look at the line, it's there.
Right, because I have to say, to be doing a stack of vouchers like this, that takes several hours, and to be checking your expense report simultaneously is ridiculous.
Well, that's why.
It's ridiculous.
But that's the point that Arlene said that she wanted to implement. That's exactly what she wants to do, is implement. She spoke to me about it, about the fact that she wants to implement something where, that it is directly brought back to the line that it's being taken from, and it's book kept very, very carefully, so we would not find ourselves doing any kind of budget transfers at the end of the year, or if we're going to do a budget transfer, we're doing it at the time when the account is, that all of a sudden.
It's contemporaneous instead of after the fact, where
Right,
you
in
look
other words,
back
that
and
we
figure out.
might find out, okay, the building department, did her, unsafe building demolition, okay? She put in so much money, but all of a sudden, for some reason, we now have 4 buildings that we had to do unsafe, whatever, because of something, and so now that line's over. At that moment, we know that the line's over. We determine at that moment where we're going to transfer the money from. We do that transfer that night, and now the book, everything's realigned, money's taken from someplace else. We now don't have that money someplace else, but at the end of the year, you're not doing transfers all over the place. You're doing, exactly, if there's no money in a line, and they need the money.
There should be I didn't mean to interrupt, on the software, when you put the voucher in and you key in that specific line, the old stuff that we used, it would ping. It would tell you. It was like a little alarm that, it wouldn't prevent you. You could override it, but it was like, no, not there. And so if we had it 15 years ago, this probably has it. I just wonder if it's muted or turned down.
Disabled or,
Well, this one, certainly, when we know that when they went from the old system to the new system, they put the ending year in, like they went, it was May or something? They put the lump sum numbers in, and then they put the new numbers in. They didn't match, which is part of the problem it took for the auditor to get everything, and the machine should have said right then and there, But some reason it was like, okay, the numbers are wrong, but.
Did I say muted?
Yes.
But I guess I'll just ask, because how do you know if you need to buy something, how do you know what's in your line? Is there an easy way, hard way?
For me, the easiest way would be to go into Edmunds, like I'm going to request a voucher, and it'll say what's left, what was budgeted for the entire year, and what's left. So for example, street lighting. When I request the street lighting voucher, it'll say what was budgeted for the year, what's left, and then when I put in what the newest number is, it'll deduct it and say what's left after this voucher that I put in. But if
And that's what you're asking for.
if there isn't enough money,
Color coded.
it'll be red, and it won't let me submit my request for the voucher.
And the red is a good number, and the number of what's left should be green.
Well, it's black. It'll stay black as long as there's
Red and
there's
blue. Let's
money.
do standard accounting.
Red.
Let's go with red and
I like green.
Good.
I don't need green. I like red and black. I live in a red and black.
We were almost out of here.
Well, okay, so
What do we do?
How do you want to do, how do you want to do this?
Okay, so I think Kitty took care of everything I wanted to take care of. It's just that I have a problem with these and I'm willing to let them to go until next
Open
week.
that dog shit.
But if I could just tell you what my problem is, which I need some clarification, one is Jacobowitz and Gubitz, and it's all being charged to the A fund, meaning us, legal for us. One of them is a discussion about the,
Do they give them out or something?
These are,
stuff for us, but it says about the zoning amendment for the definition of the municipal water supply, which I would say, okay, fine, because, we did cover that. However,
Oh, I guess
when you read
$9,000.
who they did the work for, it's prepared draft referral memo to planning board.
Yeah.
That wasn't for us, was
No,
it?
but we had to refer to them. We had to, because our code didn't allow for that, how do you ever explain it? It's the municipal water thing for the RV zone. So.
Okay, so does it work for us?
Well, it's worked for us, but we had to refer to the planning board.
So it was
and
work
then it
for
comes
the
back to
town board?
us. Yes.
Okay, then I'm okay with
That's
that.
why that one particularly, usually George's stuff goes to the planning board, but these particular ones, it was work he did for us.
Okay, this one has a note on it that they have to find out what line item for what accounts.
I'm looking for something.
Maybe
Am I giving this to Kitty or?
Kitty now, if she's
Just going to
comfortable with the
Kitty.
rest.
Another one.
Okay, who's the, oh, that was Stacy, okay. This is from Stacy. Town Board General Services, this is for Joe Moriello.
What's on the
Right,
front?
they have to be in
says
by
may
the
need.
Monday.
No, I know,
What is this TAB 850?
Newport's Views Construction, that's escrow, pretty sure. That's the escrow account, however, for Lent Drive. And then this is,
Don't these
If that's
have
an
to be in
escrow
the
account,
Monday
how come when we
prior?
get
The vouchers have to
a
be in
legal
Wednesday.
or engineering bill like this, that they don't all say
Week before the
TAB,
meeting.
TAB,
All right.
TAB?
I just have a feeling these should be next.
When we get a legal bill or an engineering bill, that's all escrow accounts.
I'm the one who, I go through it, and I go escrow.
Yes, I know. And they say the project number, and they say escrow. But they're charged to a regular account line. I'm saying, if you have an escrow account
No,
for
they
the,
charge to the escrow. Like here, I'll go through this, I'll go through
here,
this.
rip my hair out.
I mean, I didn't. Okay, yeah, right here. So here's my handwriting. So here I go through every bill, and here it says escrow,
No,
right?
I trust you.
And then I'll sit there and I'll go, be fund, this fund, so it's there, here, Newport's Views Construction Project, but general services, whatever.
Okay, let me think who it is.
But Joe doesn't have on
But
here.
it had, no.
Joe doesn't have it marked.
Right, but this is Joe, so that's like one of them. But sometimes, no, you have a bill, and it's like, let's say
Dave does it.
engineering.
Dave does
Okay,
it.
so one is New Paltz Views, one is someone else, one is another escrow, one is another escrow, one is another escrow, and it's a whole list of escrows. But they're not charged to this TAB. So that's why I didn't understand that.
I know the state, we just got the admin system. So we just start bookkeeping the escrow stuff the appropriate way.
All right, but then wait a minute, so does Vaccaro have an escrow?
Vaccaro wasn't escrow. Vaccaro was a situation where
He's in a negative escrow right now.
he owes the town money.
That's right, okay.
He owes
He wants
us,
to come back to us, and we had to have conversations with Joe Moriello about how we could move forward to allow him to come in front of us.
he needs to pay the past due amounts before he can.
But so that had to be because he wanted to come in front of the town board to do an open development, I think, right?
So it had to be,
And,
yeah, so
but
that
because he owes money, it had to come, he had to come in front of us, and we had to talk to Joe to see how to handle it.
Okay, so are you okay with that one? Glad to have this discussion. I can
Well,
iron out.
I mean,
Okay.
here's all my notes.
All right, so ask Kitty if she's okay with that one.
If you're okay, I don't think she'll be
And
okay.
yeah,
Which one?
No, this is Joe Mori.
Gene, are you
It's Joe
certifying the
Moriello.
funds are available, or are you signing above that box?
We're not signing what they want us to do.
If you look over here, come over here.
Yeah.
You'll see I've gone through it all, and
What's
I've
this next line
done
item,
everything
Maury?
belongs.
Good for you.
All right,
There we go.
I have no, I do want to pull the bill, but we're taking it out of the grants.
this one, I thought, and maybe
it's not
maybe
for-
Kitty needs to look at, I thought we gave him enough reimbursement.
Already?
Yes.
Snowboard, right?
So what is the red?
I do know that Carol was read me yesterday. I was in the office. Carol read me, and we approved a whole bunch of
Where do
stuff,
they
and I
go?
told her to double check,
Where do they go?
because it sounded
Where do they
like
go
we
on
were
vacation?
doing some double reimbursements. That's what it felt like to me, too.
So I'd like to hold that out so we can check it to see it.
Sure.
Why?
But just be
why-
careful, because we don't want to lose anything, so I don't
I'm
want
not
to touch
gonna lose
them.
anything.
No, you won't.
Why
It
is
gets
this
to
not
me.
escrow? I know that
Because
escrow's
Vacaro's not,
negative.
because Vacaro's not an escrow, we don't have an escrow account for him. We might be bookkeeping the expense, but there's no escrow account, he owes us
He's
money.
overdrawn in no escrow balance.
There-
He has no balance. He has,
There's no balance. He
unfortunately,
owes
the problem is he has an escrow
Well,
account, but it needs to
Then we
be,
should not be doing this.
well, that we had to
We had
find
to,
out.
so we could find out what's...
Adding that to the.
We had to give him an answer on why, we didn't know how to
But
move
shouldn't we
forward.
have this flagged in some way to add to the negative escrow balance?
Kelly may have, right?
Well,
Or,
we probably have, I think we have.
we can
But
check, but I bet
doesn't
you
say
Kelly,
escrow
Kelly,
next to it.
But,
Kelly is on top of that.
but, I was gonna say, for the moment, we're not,
Although we could ask an attorney.
You don't want to ask.
no, we already had the
Well, it
conversation,
just-
we already know.
It just should be flagged.
No, but
that
if you
the
get
way-
any information that you also may use
Kelly knows
later
it.
on.
Well, we don't know if he's gonna come back right now, because we're
But
not allowing him to
somehow
come
there
back.
has to be a flag on his file that says,
I'll just make sure Kelly knows. I'll
Okay.
talk to him.
Okay.
But,
I'm good.
right now, for the moment, I'm pretty sure, I know me and Kelly have talked about that.
I bet you Kelly has a note of it,
She's-
I guarantee.
All right.
Kelly is
All right.
on top of it.
Okay, so Jeannie, how do you want to do this?
So,
So if we approve this, you have to start annual.
So have you altered this total then now?
don't.
Have you changed this total that we have?
Just, I'm almost done.
Have there been discussions?
So do you have
I
a-
signed
do you have
this.
a revised?
You know, if you give me a sec. And I don't actually, you know what, I don't want to pull the money out. What I want to do, I want to hold this one voucher for, I wanted to double check, because I think it could potentially be a duplicate payment, and that's it. But if she reviews it, I'll willingly sign it. Where's my,
so,
I think it's in the warrant, so I would let her do it without,
The question we're trying to
if she
find,
holds the check.
the question is, are all these vouchers that you just brought,
Yeah.
they're in here? Okay, thank you.
okay. So,
So,
in
then-
that case, I will make a motion. No, that's not it.
Yes.
In this batch?
Yeah, but that's what she just pulled out.
No.
She pulled someone else's out.
No, I know, when I was actually approving some things, I had asked for
But I
some
thought I
things to be
did it.
double checked, because I thought we were also,
But I thought I did this 2 months ago.
Right here, look.
Is it for,
and is that from when?
okay, well then I don't want to hold this one out.
Jean, you're going to have to make the motion, because only you know which combination of vouchers are included.
You're going to move the vouchers?
What do we do with these ones? Why am I holding? I don't want to hold
They need to get passed back.
You need to sign them.
Susan, you're right, she's wide awake.
I told you, as soon as we start doing finances, all of a
No,
sudden,
you love numbers.
all of a sudden we go, so all of a sudden we do numbers and look at her. She's like, you never saw her happier.
I know.
All right.
She's as happy as could be.
I'm like a kid in the bank.
11 o'clock at night, you know, and who's this? Who signed this? This isn't me. Who signed this?
This is Jim Tinger, and this is why they have to stop signing there. Okay.
We're gonna have to do that. These people work for the town for how long? Here's who? Jim Tigger again? This is Highway. This is Chris.
That's Chris's boy.
So I just. So,
What I do?
no.
I make a motion to approve the warrants in the amount of $425,315.83.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Now,
so.
Okay, I have any. No.
Oh, God. Oh. Who's paid?
Yes.
I'll look this on this. Is there any pay coming yet?
Yes, already.
No, these must be the checks. No, these are the checks from the warrants. These are the checks from the
Oh,
warrants.
that's too bad. Oh, I was looking forward to 2 more tracks. Yeah, I really needed it.
Okay, so.
Motion to go into executive.
Yeah.
Tuition bill hanging over my head.
For what purpose?
I just reread the open meetings law, and I think that in order to go to executive session for personnel matters,
Hold off on that.
I was okay with the minutes, by the way.
Oh, I was asking if we could do the minutes next week, but if
I
you
was
want to
okay
do.
with it.
Are they okay?
Since I
There's nothing in
missed
there.
so many of the
Okay, I
meetings.
wasn't here for one, so,
Oh, so he's at boss.
no, I wasn't here for the special meeting.
We only have to do 2 of them. The other one's a joint.
Okay.
One was a
So, but
draft.
We'll do next week, or is it? We want to look through them real quick, I will.
Do you have changes?
I have to look at them real quickly, I just.
No, in that case, we'll do it next week.
Okay, I probably should.
So,
Oh, okay, so.
you want a motion to go into executive
Yeah.
session, and I just checked the open meetings law again, because the village just went into executive session. And if it's for personnel reasons, we should say what department it's related
It's
to.
for personnel relative to hiring a consultant for the master plan.
Okay? That's what they want to hear.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion so carried. So we're not going to probably take any action, so you probably should,
That's it. Good night. Thank you very much. Thank you.
There's been a new...
And that saves us on overtime charges.
Shockingly enough.
Yeah. Something went terribly wrong.
go upstairs and you want to just...
Not even 9 o'clock. You got out.
I know. We got hours.
Actually, if we had started at 7:30, we